Max Rat. Speaking the truth you don't want to hear. Max Rat. The truth it might hurt, but will set you free. Max Rat. Fighting the evil without any fear. Max Rat. The world with trouble we can leave.
Yes, and hello once again. I'm Max Rat, and welcome to the Max Rat Deconstruction Zone. Well, this is the beginning of part 2 of the Nigerian Kidnapping two-part series. The first section I called the Boko Haram, I called the Nigerian Kidnapping Boko Haram for Dummies, and this next segment will, or the next part of the part 2 series, of the two-part series will be called Nigerian Kidnapping, Advancement of a Global Police State. Well, rather than get too far into it, the first show, start to show up. The first show, I kind of tried to just show you how they it was mainly about fake terror and how they build up or create these or the creation of a fake terror group, or and I also tried to tell you that the powers who are the world government criminals who are orchestrating these fake terror plots are really doing it in their own image, and that's I'm gonna continue that thread. They're the real terrorists, and they're the ones, and it's interesting how they describe these these terrorists that they create, and it's really the way they are running things and what they're doing, and not some created fantasy boogeyman that has been created by the world government criminals along with their media, the complicit media whores. Now, having said that, let's get this show on the road. Thanks again. Welcome aboard the Max Rat Deconstruction Zone. I'm Max Rat. It's August 19th, 2014. Live from the Rat Hole, New York City. Welcome aboard. This show will be called The Nigerian Kidnapping, the Advancement of the Global Police State. Let's get it going.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated.
Just threw that clip in because Obama's like, please be seated, and play that one more.
Hello, sir.
Enough with the foreplay, sailor. What are you selling?
Well, I was going to try to sell you some handsome cream, but I can see you already bought out the store.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated.
What are your future plans?
You'll see them and hear about them in the media, God willing.
Once again, that was a clip from the interview in Osama bin Laden's cave with Osama bin Laden, and he said you'll hear it all in the media, and that's just to condition you or get you programmed to accept everything in the media, because Osama bin Laden told you that it's in the media, then it must be in the media, because of course we believe that garbage.
Your country's foreign policy is despicable. Your culture is crude, and your gluttony and greed make me sick.
You are so hot.
There is no way for me to prepare you for the truth.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business.
There is no way for me to prepare you for the truth.
That was another clip from a new movie that I don't know if it's even out yet. It's called The Giver with Jeff Bridges, and I think Meryl Streep is in that one again also. It looked like a friend of mine showed me the trailer. It was so twisted, and I was like, oh, let me clip a little bit of this out of here. So, there's no way I can prepare you for the truth. It's just bridges.
Look, I hate lying to Lois. It's the best way to keep her from knowing the truth.
I've got information, man. New shit has come to light.
So what we'll do, we'll get out all the money and put it in this small card. It's a diamond black card. You can use it anywhere in the world.
Put the money to this small card.
Yeah, this can take as much money as would fill up the house, yeah? It's fine.
Okay, that was a little clip from a Nigerian movie from the Nollywood group of movies that they have, and it was called Osify in London, and his brother made lots of money in London. He's a Nigerian guy from the Lord Bushman, if you will, and he goes out to London to try to collect his brother's inheritance, and they're like, "Well, we put it all on a card for you." And he said he wants it. He's like, "I want you to fill up the house with the cash," and they're like, "No, this is just, you can fill up plenty of houses with this. It's all on the card. It's all on your."
So what we'll do, we'll get out all the money and put it in this small card. It's a diamond black card. You can use it anywhere in the world.
Put the money to this small card.
Yeah, this can take as much money as would fill up the house, yeah? It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And, okay, so here's another clip from another, and I just wanted to give you a taste for, because a lot of people think, well, Nigerian people are running around in the jungle somewhere, but and when you watch these Nigerian movies, they're all driving around in Range Rovers and wearing fancy clothes and traveling and things like that, so it's not quite what we've been led to believe, to say the least, and for that matter, and so here's that.
This season on The Real Housewives of Lagos.
Okay, so they even have a show called The Real Housewives of Lagos, Nigeria. That was another show I found on that they have in Nigeria.
I'm returning to my flat. I've called my girlfriend. We'll watch some Titanic, drink some wine, listen to Sade, bitch about men.
Okay, so this woman in this movie, it was the last flight to Abuja movie, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go home, drink some wine, listen to Sade, watch Titanic, and bitch about men." And that's certainly not a somebody who's living in the jungle barefoot somewhere. Just give me a little flavor of how what I was shown, what I found. That Nigeria, so well. Are there poor people in Nigeria? Sure, I'm sure there are, and but it's also, there's quite a cosmopolitan side to it, and just want to give you a little bit of a rounding out, a little bit more of a broader scope of what we're rather than just what we're told on TV, which is that there are a bunch of barefooted people running through the jungle.
Africa.
Don't say nothing to Lionel about this. If he finds out, he'll jump on his tom-tom. Before you know it, we're up to our armpits and jungle bunnies.
What started as a hashtag has become a movement.
Bring Back Our Girls has become a worldwide social media campaign with more than 1 million tweets being published using the hashtag.
The international outcry centers on a Twitter hashtag appropriately titled Bring Back Our Girls.
Hashtag Bring Back Our Girls has now been used over 1 million times.
Christiane, we were mentioning the Michelle Obama moment, which has gone all the way around the world.
This has actually gone viral. Everybody can see this. Everybody knows this. Bring back our girls. And it is really because of this and because of the hashtag that the whole world suddenly became attuned to it. Because let's face it, Boko Haram have been kidnapping girls and blowing things up for a long, long time.
Right, so she's going to plant that idea in your head that, let's face it, Boko Haram's been around for a long time. They've been around blowing things up for a long time. What I'll tell you about that is that they use the media people to plant those things in your head, so you believe that, yes, Christiane Amanpour said, and I trust her, she said that they've been around for a long time. I doubt that they've been around for a long time at all. In fact, they've never been around because they're a fabrication of the media. But so anyway, so she's gonna throw that out to you that, oh, they've been blowing things up for a long time.
The world is aghast at the horrific situation in Nigeria after the kidnapping last month of more than 300 schoolgirls by the Islamist terrorist group Boko Haram. Out of desperation, local activists started the Twitter hashtag #BringBackOurGirls in order to plead for international pressure to rescue the girls because their parents had given up on the Nigerian government, which is shocking. Evidently, Nigeria has a government. I mean, I knew they had a prince. I keep emailing him money. Why doesn't he do something?
See that town? Goes by the name of Springfield, birthplace of the brass knuckle, the Nigerian prince scam, and putting a tomato in your grilled cheese sandwich.
Into the Nigerian prince territory.
Okay, so what we've also learned, and a lot of people are under the impression, Nigerians are always running this internet email scam where they claim they're a prince and you need to send them money in order to release their fortunes, and then they'll compensate you accordingly. I seriously doubt any of this is true. I think this is all part of a very of a demonization tactic by propagandist groups that are trying to rob the African nations of the continent of Africa and specifically Nigeria, and so they demonize now. You're going to tell me, I know Nigerians who have run credit card schemes. Yeah, sure, they set those people up to get taken down, and anybody who you say, hey, I have a system, you can use this, and then you give it to somebody who has nothing, they try to, and then they eventually get arrested for stealing credit card numbers or something like that. Listen, the whole idea is that they're on the Colbert Show, on Daily Show, and on The Simpsons. They're all talking about the Nigerian prince scam. Keep it going.
I love England. The world is good. And it's all about technology. Everything is changing. We're all technologically driven. Everybody's doing Facebook, Twitter, BlackBerry.
Okay, there's a Nigerian comedian, and I will tell you that I think that they write these things for these guys, because he says, Nigerians are all into technology, it's like everybody else these days, and then he says Facebook, Twitter, and then he says BlackBerry, and BlackBerry is already a outdated technology, so that was kind of a way to make you think, so the average person's like, I guess Nigerians aren't that caught up yet. Keep it going.
Secretary of State John Kerry tweeted this out about an hour ago in response to a question about if he thinks the girls can still be found. He tweeted this: "Too early to conclude. Team arriving. Very difficult situation. Determined to do everything we can to help."
Okay, so we're going to determine to do everything we can to help, and that's Kerry, and he's tweeting, of course, and which is ridiculous to me also, okay, so whatever. They say he's tweeting. And he's saying that the girls, we don't know if we're going to find them or not. The wording in this is I was reading something the other day about how the old Zodiac killer in the 70s, he was always mock the police and say, you can't catch me, and this is along the same lines, and because the solution for not being able to catch these people or not be able to find them is to, we need more police. We need more police to find them, or we need more paramilitary to find them. So they're always going to tell you, we can't find it, and the excuses or the solution will always be, we need more police, and that's there you go as the advancement of the global police state, and we're going to see every single thing that seems to be that they promote, all these hoaxes they're promoting in the press are leading towards more police state and more lockdown and more police state, whether it's here or whether it's in Africa or whether it's in Europe. It just seems like it's all over the place, and I don't know how much more people are willing to take before they say, what the fuck already? This is ridiculous, okay? And we don't need all these police and all this, and because especially because we're being fear-mongered with fake terror all the time, and everything, and all these stories that we see in the news about shootings and about kidnappings and about bombings, all of it is staged, and we're going to go into that.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
We do cheap outrage on TV. We do cheap hashtag activism when it comes to the girls with Boko Haram. And this is cheap. She's been a cheap punchline for 2 hours.
I don't think you want to connect the activism that actually got the world to start to pay attention to the girls with what happened with Monica Lewinsky.
Okay, so on Fox, they're talking about how Monica Lewinsky. I don't know. I think that was CNN, but they said how they were talking about how they somehow connected Monica Lewinsky to this cheap hashtag activism, as they called it, and what they're going to do there is so the lefties are going to be perceived or shown as soft. And so they're gonna. All they want to do is show up a little hashtag sign, and they think that's gonna work. And so then the righties or the Fox people are all gonna come jumping in, like, oh, you see, that's not gonna do any good. We need to go in there with our military. And so that's what this whole hashtag thing has been formulated for, and you're going to see that, and we're going to see it. So first, they're going to say, well, the hashtag activism doesn't really do anything, and so then people like Limbaugh and all these other people and all these so-called righties, who are all on the same team, obviously, are going to tell you, well, that's an excuse to bring in more police state.
Terrorists are not going to be intimidated by Kim Kardashian tweeting a selfie.
Apparently there's a Twitter, what do you call it, handle. Is Mrs. Obama looking sad? Is that not pathetic? What the hell message does that say? It is just unbelievable. The sad thing here is that the low information crowd that's puddling around out there on Twitter is going to think we're actually doing something. At least she's trying, Mr. Limbaugh. What are you doing? At least Mrs. Obama cares. At least they're trying to get them back.
But I think the key is to put pressure internationally on the powers that can go in and move this.
Right. So we're going to use this hashtag thing to spin it into. We need to bring our military or United Nations military or NATO or EU military, whatever. They're going to bring up all of them, and everybody's going to say, yeah, that's a good idea.
Are these barbarians in the wilds of Nigeria supposed to check their Twitter accounts and say, oh, Michelle Obama's very cross with us, we better change our behavior?
And that's and George Will calling Nigerian people barbarians in the wilds of Nigeria. The old wilds, and I'm sure there's a lot of wilds of Nigeria over there.
Communities are ultimately threatened by these barbaric terrorists.
Obama's got barbaric terrorists as well.
Just stay close so we don't leave ourselves open to an ambush.
Dad, that is so ignorant.
Hey, these people are extremists. That's not ignorance, that's fact. Quick, cover your mouths. That's how they enter your body to lay their eggs.
This picture is of the First Lady. I just think this is pathetic.
Let's do something real, folks. Let's not just sit here and think that holding signs is the same as action.
Holding signs ain't the same as action, and she's pathetic for holding that sign. And it's Limbaugh, and again, so they're going to give you two options. Your one option is hold up a sign and do nothing, or the other option is go in there with military and bomb them or kill them or trying to kill them or whatever. And nobody even addresses the fact that this is all staged and there is no Boko Haram. But that's how it goes here.
Are any of the celebrities actually willing to risk American lives to help save the girls?
Okay, on Fox, he's like, are the celebrities willing to risk American lives to help save the girls? There we go. And then, again, we're leading further and further into it. It's like, we got to go in there. We got to get in there.
Now it's time for some non-talking and some action. And I'd love to wake up some morning and find out that special forces and satellites and drones took care of these guys.
Right, he'd like to wake up one morning and find out we killed somebody.
I would utilize every tool that we have to rescue these young girls.
McCain.
Now suddenly, political elites want U.S. action.
Okay, that was Fox's Laura Ingraham, and she's like, so the new meme is political elites are anyone who's a lefty or who's even black people are political elites now, and Democrats are certainly all political elites now, and so like the Fox people aren't getting paid enough and aren't again it's just that left right bounce you back and forth. Oh, they're the now the elites are Democrats, which is which is, listen, nobody is an elite. There's two families full of elites, quote unquote, and I don't like that term anyway. And they are the European royal families and the Rockefellers here in the United States. Pretty much that's it. Okay, there are other people who rub around with them, and those people are all compromised, and we'll get into that as we always do.
The seizure of these young women by this radical extremist group, Boko Haram, is abominable. It's criminal. It's an act of terrorism, and it really merits the fullest response possible.
Okay, there's a political elite Hillary, and she's like, it merits the fullest response possible.
She's what you call a disinformation agent, just spouting bullshit everywhere.
Put it this way, if the president decided to use special forces, I certainly would not oppose him.
That's a jerk off Peter King, and he's Mr. Just fear-monger you on terrorists. He's like he certainly would not oppose special forces going into we're running into we're setting the stage to run into Nigeria, and I'm going to show you what that is for as well.
I say a new hashtag is called for, a hashtag of the Navy SEALs symbol, and our hashtag should be "Release the girls if you want to live."
All right. And that's some tough guy on Fox, and he doesn't even know what a hashtag is, obviously. But he's like the Navy SEAL symbol hashtag, whatever that means. Again, just foolish nonsense, and he's like, yeah, let's go in there, and if you want to live. And all these guys, they love to talk tough with when we're killing other people, or when other people's children are getting killed, or both, or just disgusting, if you ask me.
The former Nigerian Vice President Atiku Abubakar on Twitter Monday after the bombing, saying, we urgently need new methods and strategies to deal with our security issues, including accepting foreign assistance.
Okay, the former vice president, supposedly of Nigeria, is now he says we need foreign assistance. Okay, so first we're saying that the holding up the sign isn't enough. Then the Fox people are jumping in saying, "Oh, we have to go get him." And now the Nigerian ex-vice president is like, "Yeah, we need foreign assistance here."
We've already sent in a team to Nigeria. They've accepted our help, a combination of military, law enforcement, and other agencies who are going in, trying to identify where, in fact, these girls might be and to provide them help.
Okay, so Obama's like, we're already in.
The international community, primarily the United States and the United Kingdom, is sending in personnel, some military personnel, as well as from the U.S., some members of the FBI, and some State Department and Justice Department officials.
Okay, we're sending law enforcement, Justice Department, and State Department officials into Nigeria, and that's via ABC.
A lot of these celebrities, look, they're using their political capital. They're putting their brand out there.
Is that enough, though, Marjorie? Is that enough? Political capital, using their brand, is that enough? I mean, won't it take something like, as James points out, maybe even John McCain suggested, hey, we have drones. What better use of a drone than this, no?
Drone them.
The U.S. military is flying manned surveillance flights over Nigeria at the request of the government there, and is sharing information, including imagery from satellites and aircraft that may help in figuring out their location.
And these are hardened thugs, and the only way that those girls will come back is with military intervention. This is a case for satellites, drones, and special forces.
Satellites, drones, and special forces. This is the case for that again. So now we're getting into this is what this fake terror plot was really for. It's just an excuse to go in there.
What the West wants to do with Africa. And then you'll find the reasons for all the excuses they come out with as to why they must go in. It's nothing to do with them. They don't give a darn about children, folks. Have you figured that out yet? They don't give a darn about children.
When we have the ability to prevent it, the United States cannot just look away. That's not who we are. We're Americans. We act. We lead.
You know, I think that the public in the West just doesn't get the impact of education, and there's this natural kind of affinity for blowing things up because that seems to be effective.
That's our new job in the world, bombing brown people. You got some brown people in your country, tell them to watch the fuck out.
Our military is so effective that we can keep a lid on problems wherever we are if we put enough personnel and resources into it.
Yeah, if we put enough personnel and resources into it, we can keep a lid on anything. Again, we're just giving excuses for more military and more going into Nigeria now.
Iran has offered to help Nigeria resolve its hostage crisis. The Deputy Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs, Hossein Amin Abdullahian, made the offer in a meeting with Nigeria's ambassador to Iran.
Okay, so now Iran is offering to help again. So this is a way to associate Nigerians with the other terrorists that we've created, where there are no terrorists in Iran either. However, they're going to tell us, oh no, so all the other terrorists, they left out North Korea in this one. North Korea was probably going to offer too, but they did mention Iran and Saudi Arabia. They're like, yeah, all the terrorists, we're the like-minded terrorist people, and we haven't heard much from Venezuela lately either. But I'm surprised that they haven't. Well, I guess that's because Chavez supposedly passed away, but so now Iran's helping out Nigeria, and again, just to associate them with the other bad guys that we've created, because we want to demonize Nigeria, and this is going to be even more of an excuse to go in there with our troops, and they need our troops in there.
Oh, shut up! What do you take me for, an imbecile?
Really? Okay, and that was okay.
There was even an attempt to have Saudi Arabia broker a discussion.
The role Saudi Arabia and Iran have been very fundamental in spreading radical Islamic philosophies in Nigeria.
Okay, Saudi Arabia and Iran have been spreading radical Islamic philosophies in Nigeria. Didn't you know that?
You don't believe that just because it was on TV, right?
Boko Haram is able to outsmart the Nigerian security forces and take advantages of any weaknesses in the strategy employed by the Nigerian government and security forces.
I guess that's what we're seeing now.
Right, so now, Boko Haram is outsmarting the Nigerian forces. That's another excuse for us to bring in more people. That was from the Jamestown Foundation, which has been writing a lot of this stuff, as it seems to me, and I got that from their website. Or no, that was actually from a CNN interview of Jacob Zen, who's from the Jamestown Foundation. That's how I found this Jamestown Foundation website, where there's they basically have all kinds of sort of news conference type setups and clips, and they're basically just a propaganda spewing machine.
The US and other countries now deeply concerned that Nigeria simply cannot control Boko Haram, which appears to be able to strike in this country at will.
Nigerian government can't control Boko Haram.
But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do pushing from afar. And unfortunately, so far, the President Goodluck Jonathan and the Nigerian military just have completely dropped the ball on this. And
there's only so much we can do from afar, which means we got to go in, as you can see.
Are you insinuating that there's just no way to stop Boko Haram at the moment?
I'm sorry that we've reached the point where it is completely a military situation.
Well,
right, that's the wise man of Nigeria. He's like, yeah, it's completely a military situation, and the Nigerian military isn't really up to the challenge. So here we go. We need to get help from outside, which will be the United States and the EU and NATO and all that, and United Nations, which is all the same people, which is really the world government criminals who seem to run our government clearly, and get us and they use the American taxpayer and the sweat of the Americans' brow to go steal everybody else's resources and shit and blame it, and we would call it spreading democracy or something like that.
The military of Nigeria seems to be withdrawing from any confrontation with Boko Haram because it feels overpowered.
Okay, the Nigerian military feels overpowered by Boko Haram.
The Nigerian government must accept help, particularly intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance help.
My suggestion would be to call Batman immediately.
Right. One of the problems that the Nigerian security forces are having is that northeastern Nigeria, particularly Borno State, is where most Boko Haram members are from. And they understand the local terrain, the desert, the porous border areas, the swamplands, the forests, better than many of the Nigerian security forces officers who come from other parts of the country. This allows Boko Haram to maneuver through back roads in the desert to their hideouts, where they can maintain these women and often bring them up to the mountains, where they have a strategic advantage against the security forces if they try to move upwards and catch these Boko Haram members in their hideouts.
What am I, a schmuck on wheels?
Yeah, and he says women's, which shows that he's not really even English isn't even his first language. This guy Jacob Zen, who's worked for the Jamestown Foundation, and he's got this whole crazy thing about how Boko Haram is they're so much more talented, diverse, and everything than the Nigerian military. And that's a crock of garbage. And again, Boko Haram, as I showed in the first part of the show, is made up. Okay, it's fake terror, but we're going to keep going on and use it as an excuse to go in there.
French President François Hollande hosted a meeting in Paris on Saturday to discuss the issue. The presidents of Nigeria and 4 neighboring nations attended, along with representatives from the U.S., Britain, and the EU.
They need to make it a priority to do everything they can to try to bring these girls home safely. And that, I believe, requires assistance from others, including the United States. We have offered, President Obama made that offer. I know Secretary Kerry conveyed it directly to President Goodluck Jonathan. So has the EU, so has the UK.
EU, UK, they need our assistance, and Hillary's like, I know, Kerry already told them that.
Africans are shaping their future for themselves, and we want to share in their effort and help to provide and drive for a shared prosperity.
Shared.
The United States is determined to be a partner in Africa's success, a good partner, an equal partner, and a partner for the long term.
Good partner and equal partner in their success. I'm not sure if they're a partner in our success, but we're partners in theirs.
There's no reason the nation of Africa cannot and should not join the ranks of the world's most prosperous nations in the near term, in the decades ahead. That's simply no reason.
Okay, our genius Vice President Biden calls it the nation of Africa, which means he thinks it's all one country already. He might not be that far from the truth, from correct on that anyway. However, that's just twisted, and again, I'm not sure how somebody at that high level of politics they can't get that right, or intentionally didn't get it right. I think it's probably the latter, but he calls it the nation of Africa, and it just shows that he's a liar. They don't have any intention of doing anything like that.
There's no reason the nation of Africa cannot and should not join the ranks of the world's most prosperous nations in the near term, in the decades ahead. That's simply no reason.
Buddy boy, I'm in politics. When you tell me I gotta start telling the truth all the time, holy Hannah. You know something? I couldn't make a single political speech. I couldn't run for office again.
The Europeans are putting together an intervention force. They'll be here in a few days.
That was from Hotel Rwanda, and they're putting in an intervention force in Nigeria. Then they were doing it in the movie in Hotel Rwanda as well.
We can show you how to feed 1,000 people where one was fed before. We can help you build schools, educate the young in the latest technological and scientific skills. Your public facilities are almost non-existent. We can help you remake your world. End disease, hunger, hardship. All we ask in return is that you let us help you.
Came to declare war and to save the kidnapped schoolgirls. From 5 African nations, leaders met amid Parisian grandeur and agreed to join forces to fight a brutal insurgency.
Amid Parisian grandeur, oh, thanks.
It seems to me that what may be required here is not counterterrorism, but counterinsurgency. That is to say, a multifaceted approach in the North.
Okay, it's a counterinsurgency and a multifaceted approach, which means multinational or multi-agency approach, whether it's United Nations or U.S. troops or NATO, like I said again. That's your multifaceted approach.
Has a war been staged for us, complete with weapons and ideology and patriotic drumbeating, even spark, even race hatred?
Recent events would seem to be directed toward a magnification of the basic hostilities between humans and Klingons. Apparently, it is by design that we fight. We seem to be pawns.
That is a complete fucking fraud, and it looks 100% real.
That was from Wagner Talk when he said, look at that, and they're talking about a staged war. The Star Trek guy's talking about a staged war, and this is staged, and Star Trek is like, and does that include racial hatred? And Spock is like, well, sure doesn't look like it. And again, this is all staged and contrived to manipulate the people and the thoughts of the people, and give an excuse to get there for them to go in there and rape and pillage and plunder the African nations like they haven't done that already for the last 200 years.
Look at that. That is a complete fucking fraud, and it looks 100% real.
Boko Haram's violent insurgency is already spilling across borders. Kidnappings and attacks are common in neighboring countries, and the group appears to be well armed. Finding these schoolgirls and stopping Boko Haram are really regional problems.
Okay, and now here we go into, so the reason that they told us that Boko Haram situated in the northeast region of Nigeria is because in that northeast region you have this giant lake in Africa called Lake Chad, and there's several countries that border right on Lake Chad, and they're all in that northeast region of next to that or adjacent to that northeast region of Nigeria. So now what the excuse is going to be is that, well, Boko Haram, not only do we need to go in there and get them with our United Nations troops and our NATO troops and our American troops, and the UK troops and the coalition, if you will. But now we also, because Boko Haram, they spill over into the other areas, which is Cameroon, Niger, Chad, and Nigeria, and so they're going to say, well, because they're spilling over like that, we're going to have to put those troops in all those places, and then we're going to call it a regional problem, and then we're going to say, you know what we should do? Let's just regionalize this whole area and call it one region. It'll make it much easier for the security detail, and when we can have one international security force to lock them all down, and we'll call it Nigeria, Chad, Cameroonville, and then we'll call that one region, and we'll be on our way to Biden's. We'll just call Africa one nation, and you got to walk before you can run, and that's what's going on here, and that's again. So first we're going to say that the hashtag's not enough. Then we're going to say that they need our help, and they should accept our help. And then Obama's going to say, oh, they already did accept it. We're already in there. We're already flying drones, and we need to bomb them, and we need to drone Boko Haram. And now they're going to say, well, Boko Haram is spilling over into the other regions, so we need to go in there too.
At the present time, there is a big challenge for the security in that precise zone around Lake Chad for all the countries, neighboring countries of the Lake Chad. Cameroon in first, Niger, Chad, and they should probably work together in way to find a solution to the Boko Haram issue.
Yeah, we should all work together to find a solution.
I think the only things we can do are to try to highlight this, create pressure, not just on Nigeria, but on the surrounding governments, on Niger, on Cameroon, on Chad.
Everybody, and that's NBC. You got that's Van Cat, France 24. They're also calling for a regionalization and hey, let's work together.
The problem is that there's not a sufficient strategy to combat Boko Haram at the village level with community patrols, at the sub-regional level working with neighbors such as Niger and Cameroon, and on the international level where the Nigerian security forces could gain intelligence from countries like Algeria or East Africa where Boko Haram is receiving support.
Okay, so he's already including Northern Africa and East Africa. He's like, yeah, we'll just regionalize the whole thing.
But in this region, few places are safe, and Boko Haram keeps slipping away.
And Boko Haram just keeps slipping away into all these other regions. None of them are safe. We need to go in there with all we got.
Boko Haram have shown that they can hit the Nigerian state in different ways. Bomb attacks, raiding villages, attacking schools and abducting children. For now, Nigeria's neighbors are only dealing with the consequences of this violence. But the prospect of this same violence spilling over is becoming more of a question of not if, but when they may strike here.
BBC, we're not if, but when. Yeah, we're spilling over, and we need to go into we need Cameroon, Niger, Chad, and Nigeria all need to be regionalized into one big African nation, and like Biden said, and then let's just get the security forces in, and we'll be partners in their prosperity, like and equal partners. Obama said, and it's more like we'll just rob them all, and that'll be and for you, if you think that if you're an American, you're in on that prosperity. No, that's not. We're not in those. That either. Okay, we're just the slaves who pay for it all. So other people who call themselves our rulers and our elitists or whatever you want to call them, they rob it all and they keep it for themselves. And then they give you a couple of scraps off the table when they're done, and you think that you're in on it.
Officials from African and Western nations have agreed to share information and step up border controls in Africa to combat the Islamic extremist group Boko Haram.
We're going to need to step up policing them even harder.
Local experts say Cameroon is a staging area for Boko Haram, a place to regroup, rearm, and even attack.
Yeah, so we need to go in Cameroon too, because they're a staging area. It's a staging area for Boko Haram, man.
Our profound belief is that terrorism must be fought to the utmost in order to curb its expansion and to eradicate it definitively.
Okay, that was from the United Nations General Assembly. The Chad president, he's like, we need to eradicate terrorism to the utmost, which is, and so he's complicit. He works for those people. He works for the United Nations criminals, and he's saying that we need to fight terrorism even harder, and so he's going to invite the NATO and the United Nations troops into his country, like he's doing his people a lot of good there.
Boko Haram is an organization linked to terrorism, whose goal is to destabilize the north of Nigeria for sure, but also all countries neighboring Nigeria.
There you go. That's Hollande from France, and he's like, yeah, we need to go into all the countries neighboring Nigeria as well.
The other story that we're hearing is they could be across the border into Cameroon, where Boko Haram are known to have camps.
Oh, yeah, they're known to have camps in Cameroon too.
So we need now to really challenge them in all the countries neighboring the northern part of Nigeria in order to obtain a certain result. And it's a challenge also for the regional integration.
It's a challenge for the regional integration, okay? And he said we need to challenge them in all the countries bordering Nigeria. That's a challenge for the regional integration. There you go.
Now, with respect to terrorism, I think there's uniform concern of terrorist infiltration in many countries throughout Africa. Obviously, there's a concern that we have globally. A lot of the initiatives that we put forward were designed to partner so that countries, first and foremost, can deal with these problems within their own borders or regionally. And the United States doesn't have a desire to expand and create a big footprint inside of Africa. What we do want to make sure we can do is partner with the African Union, with ECOWAS, with individual countries to build up their capacity. And one of the encouraging things in the sessions was a recognition that fighting terrorism also requires security forces that are professional, that are disciplined.
Okay, and ECOWAS is the economic countries of West African states or alliance of West African states, so we want to partner with, and he's just African Union and ECOWAS. So again, they're not really just partnering with countries anymore. It's like we're gonna group you all together and we'll partner, and we'll be your partner. Isn't that just like kind of like Goodfellas when Paulie becomes the partner in the restaurant and then they just rob it all? That's exactly how it works.
They're lying to us.
This is not just a problem that is Nigeria's problem. This is also Cameroon's problem. It is Niger's problem. It is Chad's.
Yeah, it's everybody's. Yeah, and again, they're just every single news outlet is telling you, oh yes, we need to go into Cameroon, Nigeria, and Chad.
We're speaking about terrorists. We're speaking about a sect. We're speaking about people who want to jeopardize the security agenda and show that there is dissensus inside the country.
Again, that's the image of the world government criminals themselves, and they're portraying it through the lens of this Boko Haram nonsense. But that's their ideas. They're the ones who want to destabilize countries and
with what's happening in Mali, there's members of the group that are beginning to take an internationalist mentality to this, kind of like an Al-Qaeda mentality, and I showed that group at the end called the Defenders of Supporters of Islam in Black Africa, and it's very likely that some members from the current Boko Haram will leave this Nigerian fold and start to try to take what they're doing to a regional or perhaps international level.
Okay, and that's the Supporters of Islam in Black Africa, whatever that is. That's another group. This guy, this liar from Jamestown Foundation, says exists in Mali, and they're more like Al Qaeda, and they're going to they're going to expand from just the small area, the regional, to more of an international scope. And again, this is all in the image of the real terrorists and the real criminals. Keep it moving.
We also recognize the need for a broad-based global partnership in the ongoing battle against transborder crimes, including terrorism and acts of piracy.
Okay, that's Good Luck Jonathan at the United Nations again. This was this year at the General Assembly, and he's saying that we need a global partnership again. So he's absolutely 100%. He's their guy. He's 100% on board. His job is to sell out and invite the looters to just come into his country, and he packages it as like he's doing Nigerians a bit of good, which is absolutely, certainly evidence suggests absolutely not. And he was, but they were already setting this whole thing up at the United Nations in the beginning of the year, and here's another clip from the Niger representative at the United Nations.
It is also urgent to put in place regional and international coordination.
Okay, we need regional and international coordination.
Whose job it would be to provide security for all of the Sahel-Saharan area.
Okay, we need, and they will provide security for the whole area again. And this is the Niger representative at the United Nations.
Taking vigorous measures against drug trafficking and cross-border crime, organized crime, in a general way.
And then I always get a kick out of there's a lot of drug traffic going through Niger of all places. Yeah, I guess the Colombian drug lords who's really our military and CIA, or who are the real drug dealers, obviously, and everybody knows that, and they're the ones shipping it in from, whether it's Colombia or whether it's from the heroin from Afghanistan, but they're cutting through Niger, and what do? They just drop it off there because there's a lot of drug trafficking going through Niger, and so and the Niger representative is saying that that's what we need a regional security force for in the whole Sahel, which is the lower Sahara, the Sahel region of Africa, and that's where all these countries reside, and we need that to catch drug traffickers.
You've got your local regions within your states, and sometimes breaking the borders, and then you've got 11 mega regions in the United States. You thought you had 50 states, but no, you don't. Now you have 11 mega regions, and you can go to America2050.org if you want to check that out.
You are now in the year 2173. Now, this is the central parallel of the American Federation. This district is what you probably call the southwestern United States.
Right, and now they're calling it a district in a future movie called Sleeper, which was a Woody Allen movie, kind of a funny movie. And Rosa Corey, who's an expert on Agenda 21, is talking about that United States is already, our borders have been erased in our states, which used to be sovereign states of the United States, and now we're all grouped into, and we're not even states anymore, we're mega regions. And that's what they're trying to do in Africa, and frankly all over the world is divide the world into regions to make it easier for the slave to govern the slaves, and that's what's going on here. And let's keep it moving from there.
The officials also confirmed the need for United Nations sanctions against the group. The move would help to cut funding and supplies of weapons to the militants.
We need sanctions against militant groups. I'm not sure how that works either, but those are United Nations sanctions. So we're going to move the United Nations in on this too.
And just this week, 20 female U.S. senators sent a letter to President Obama to ask him to get the United Nations to add Boko Haram to the Security Council's list of al-Qaeda associates, because for some reason they're not.
That's Al-Qaeda. Well, they are Al-Qaeda associates because Al-Qaeda is made up by the same criminals that Boko Haram is, and it's all fake. Okay, there's no Al-Qaeda and there's no Boko Haram, and so they're in so now we have 20 female senators. That's to put because they really care about these girls and they're women, and so the female senators want to United Nations to recognize Boko Haram as an Al-Qaeda affiliate, and for some reason they're not. For some reason, this is, you see, again, we're arguing something that's not true to begin with, and this is all we get these days.
The Secretary General reiterates that the targeting of children in schools is against international law and cannot be justified under any circumstances. He reminds all concerned that human rights law and international humanitarian law must be fully respected.
Okay, there's the Secretary. This is a representative of the United Nations talking about Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, and he's saying that we must recognize this, the supreme law of the United Nations over the laws of sovereign nations. So, and he's like this is international supreme law, and it must be respected over, and basically it's a color of law, because I don't know who again, I guess that makes it enforceable, and that makes him be, so now he's your new ruler, I guess, because he's a Secretary General. He's like, it must be respected, and this is somebody who's unelected. Okay, so and he said we must now, and this is a representative of the United Nations talking about how Ban Ki-moon says we have to respect international law here, which is a law made up by a bunch of criminals who aren't unelected.
The Secretary General reiterates that the targeting of children in schools is against international law and cannot be justified under any circumstances. He reminds all concerned that human rights law and international humanitarian law must be fully respected.
Gotta respect an unelected lawmaker.
The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has said this is shocking, and the targeting of schools and school children is a grave violation of international humanitarian law.
The President briefed the Secretary General on the current state of the search for the abducted girls. The President accepted the Secretary General's offer to send a high-level representative to Nigeria to discuss how the United Nations can better support the government's efforts to tackle the internal challenges.
Okay, that was the president of Nigeria, which is Goodluck Jonathan, and he's a complicit yes man for these people, and when they're done with him, they'll just throw him to the curb or kill him or whatever, and that'll be that for him.
Your Excellency, we need to seek advice from the Security Council, and we need to get approval from the National Security Advisor.
Okay, and that was in a movie called Kidnapping or something. It's a Nigerian movie again. It was a kidnap movie, and in a Nollywood movie, which is the Nigerian the Nigerian movie industry, and she's like, we need to seek advice from the Security Council. Again, just propagandizing Nigerians as well, that this is all, we have to accept and embrace the United Nations and their rule over us, their unelected rule over us.
We've got a dozen military advisors already on the ground in Nigeria that just got sent. When you put them with the team that was already there, we've got 27 guys on the ground that are U.S. soldiers, so that's fascinating.
Okay, that's fascinating, whatever that means. This jerk off from Young Turks, Cenk. And he said, that's fascinating. And what he's doing there is saying, we got a dozen guys and 27 guys, and this is for a whole nation. So what your reaction will be there would be, oh, that's it? That's all we have? We need more guys than that. And they did the same thing in Hotel Rwanda. I'll show you a clip from that.
Colonel Oliver said he has 300 UN peacekeepers for the whole country.
Right, so what do we need? More peacekeepers. We need more because we only have 300, or we only have 27, or we only have a dozen, and so these media whores will make you believe that well, how are we going to help these? How are we going to save these girls with only a dozen people? We need more.
Look, the UN is here. I'm going to go ask them how I can help.
The intelligences behind many nations would not mind Nigeria becoming the next Afghanistan.
The intelligence agencies behind the United Nations would like, I'm not sure what the hell that's supposed to mean, but anyway, that was a Nigerian guy. He said that they wouldn't mind if it became another Afghanistan. In other words, yeah, we can just have a 12-year, we'll bring our troops in and just loot that country dry, and he's saying that, the people in the United Nations wouldn't mind that. I might not necessarily disagree with that.
Will the UN intervene to stop the bloodshed?
We're his peacekeepers, not his peacemakers. My orders are not to intervene.
We are peacekeepers who came to protect the innocent, but now prey upon them in the worst ways possible.
Okay, that was a clip from Hotel Rwanda where Nick Nolte is the UN peacekeeper colonel, and he's like, oh, we don't intervene. We're just here to help. And then the movie Whistleblower, which is about Bosnia and the United Nations going in there and as peacekeepers, and they were exposed to have been running, not only participating in, but running a prostitution and female slavery ring, along with DynCorp and others. That's the movies, but that's what the movie was about. And on that note, I have a friend who's worked at the United Nations for 30 years, and she told me just the other day, because we were discussing this show, and she told me that she knows that these documents exist. And she said they kind of just throw them in the drawer, and you never see them again. But if you wanted to, you could go to the United Nations and request to see these documents. Where she said one of the Swedish representatives wrote up a big report on in the Congo in Africa, where the United Nations troops were and representatives and quote unquote peacekeepers were raping 9-year-old women and girls in Congo, and the United Nations people are the ones doing all the raping and all the slavery and the same thing that they said in this movie called Whistleblower. And when we're blaming it on people who don't exist, okay. Meanwhile, the people who are supposedly our saviors in this matter are the ones who have been exposed and documented as committing these crimes. So I'm not sure how much more twisted you can get than that.
We are peacekeepers who came to protect the innocent, but now prey upon them in the worst ways possible.
There is nothing more I can do for you, Paul. No more police, no more protection. Let the UN take care of you.
Let the UN take care of you.
These women are sold and forced to provide sexual services. Their clientele consists of S4, IPTF, local police, and international employees. Worse, they have become involved in the trade itself.
Okay, that was from Whistleblower again. It's about Bosnia and the war in Serbia and Bosnia, and again they exposed and this was about this woman who exposed the sex trafficking and slave trafficking, human trafficking in Bosnia, and they did the same thing in Congo, and I have a friend who told me specifically that's a fact, and you can go check that and look that up yourself. It's all there. It's a record, and those are the people doing the people who we send in to save the day are the ones who are doing the sex trafficking and to begin with, and the other people don't even exist. So that's where we're at with this garbage, and it's it's sickening and it's despicable, and we're gonna keep going on the show.
It is a terrible example of what we're seeing, unfortunately, more of the use of women and girls particularly as victims of war, of slaves for these militia groups as they rampage from Darfur south to the Central African Republic, to eastern Congo and other places in between, and a failure of local law enforcement.
And again, Hillary is describing the people that she works for, which is not the United States government, it's the world government criminals, and she's describing she's calling them militias who are running through Sudan and Central African Republic and Congo and all these places. And those are the same people. Those are the supposed peacekeeping forces. They're the ones out there raping and looting things and killing people, and those are the people that we're sending in there and on our behalf or on the behalf of the world community, and that Hillary's plugging for, and all these other criminals are plugging for, and they're the ones who actually do the trafficking and the raping themselves, and not people who don't exist.
Local community support, and then the entire national government, and this is a problem not just in Nigeria, but Nigeria has more resources and more capacity to do more, and they should be expected to.
Yeah, blame it on Nigerians again. And this is twisted.
You are in service now.
I know you have heard many things. And I know what we have seen, Thomas. But please, the United Nations are here now. The world press are watching.
Again, just plugs for United Nations in Hotel Rwanda. That's just when anybody watches any movie about Africa, you're going to say, like, oh, the United Nations are here to save our day. And then if you watch the right movies and you listen to the right news people, such as Max Radd himself, you'll find that it's been documented and proven and exposed that the United Nations troops are themselves are the ones running these sex trafficking rings.
This land was theirs, you see. We took it, and now they've nowhere else to go.
They will set up Africa. They will set up the United States Africa Command, and they will be there
and they will set up a perpetual state of chaos on the African continent, and they'll play both sides, and they'll control it like they're doing now via this made-up group called Boko Haram.
Professor Griff called it made up.
And of course the rest of the story about AFRICOM is all forgotten. Folk forget, oh my God, the US wanted to get in there all along, so did Britain, etc., etc., and so did the big corporations, because there's a lot of gas and oil and gold and diamonds and minerals under Africa. They've been saying that for years. It's one of the richest continents in the world.
The chimps are running a diamond mine.
Why, what fascinating behavior. I must document this new activity.
Dr. Bushwell.
What, these? Well, they were a graduation present.
Throughout the history of Africa, whenever a substance of value is found, the locals die in great number and in misery. Now, this was true of ivory, rubber, gold, and oil.
Look there's more over here. Look at this. She's hidden diamonds everywhere.
Even on the soles of her shoes.
Yep. Ta-na-na, ta-na-na. She got diamonds on the soles of her shoes. Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. She's one of the 10 richest chimp researchers in the world.
Since I addressed you last, the Commonwealth, too, has grown vigorously to become a group of nations representing nearly 2 billion people. It gives its wholehearted support to the significant contributions to the peace and stability of the world made by the United Nations and its agencies.
Okay, that's the Queen of England herself. That's Queen Elizabeth, and she said not only does her Commonwealth contain 2 billion people almost, but she gives their wholehearted support to the United Nations. Thank you. So she's, which is something that she participated in creating along with the Rockefellers, and these are the people who I call the world government criminals and the Rockefeller crime syndicate. That's basically what you have there.
To the Queen.
And Obama to the Queen. and as you know, I've told you in my shows before that I'm quite convinced that Barack Obama's father is Michael Rockefeller, and that his mother and his grandfather were the presidents of Indonesia. That would be Sukarno and Megawati Sukarno Putri. That's his mother. Look it up. She looks just like them. He looks just like them, and that's his parents. Period. Keep it going, and that's the world government cabal who he works for and he works with, and he's nothing to do with help. He can give a rat's ass about black people or African people at all. He's not African anyway.
To the Queen.
Gentlemen, it is the considered opinion of Her Majesty's government that we pursue peace at all costs.
We ask only that you trust us. Only that you simply trust us.
Agenda 21 defines itself as the comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations systems.
Well, you know what? It's not that it's going to impact you. It's impacting you right now. Agenda 21 is a plan to inventory and control all resources, human and natural, and all means of production in the world. And this is the process that is happening right now in every single city, town, community, in the entire world.
We are being told, don't touch your resource, don't touch your oil, don't touch your coal.
If one thinks about it long enough, one will realize that all tyrants, past and most especially present, must use deception of their population to initiate a war. No citizen of a modern industrialized nation will send their children off to die in a war to grab another nation's resources and assets, yet resources and assets are what all wars are fought over. The nation that wishes to initiate a war of conquest must create the illusion of an attack or a threat to start a war, and must always give their population of cowards an excuse never, never to question that carefully crafted illusion.
And it goes on and on. The good old game of war, pawn against pawn. Stopping the bad guys. While somewhere, some thing sits back and laughs. And starts it all over again.
And now the people within the region feel that while they don't have anybody truly representing their interests, the militant groups are much more in line with their dissatisfaction. And over 30 million people live in the Niger Delta. Nearly to a man support these militant groups against the federal government.
Okay, so now they're going to tell you that that makes all of them terrorists, doesn't it? Because the 30 million people who live in just the Niger Delta alone, which is countries like Togo and Benin and Nigeria and Ghana, for that matter, and that's just in the Delta area because these countries have loads of other people, and Nigeria is the most populous country in that region, in Africa, frankly. Now he's going to, the Jamestown Foundation guy is going to say that basically they all support Boko Haram, so that makes them all terrorists. So this the whole region's a bunch of the Niger Delta, which is the oil region in West Africa, is the they're all terrorists there. So we need to and why Americans feel as though we should we benefit from the oil conglomerates robbing other countries. We don't, okay? And if you think we do, you're kidding yourself. All that does is enslave us further, because these people have more power, more control over us, and all we get is a big boot on the neck and a more police state, and we get the banks stealing our pensions and robbing us all, and if you don't think that's coming down the pike, or if you don't think it's here already, you're kidding yourself. And let's keep it going from there.
The U.S. government charges bin Laden with supporting terrorist activities throughout the Middle East.
The U.S. today has set a double standard, calling whoever goes against its injustice a terrorist. It wants to occupy our countries, steal our resources, impose agents on us to rule us, and then wants us to agree to all this. If we refuse to do so, it says we are terrorists.
There you go, and that's a rational assessment from another. While he's sitting in his cave in bin Laden, he's saying, well, the U.S. is coming. He comes in and calls us all terrorists, and then steals all our stuff. And it's not just the U.S.; it's the world government cabal who runs our military, and unfortunately, and seemingly, the American people are too distracted to understand what's really going on. And then we have a fake Osama bin Laden in a fake interview in a fake cave in supposedly in Afghanistan, and he's going to tell you that everything that's really the case, and he's going to say, well, and like I just said, so in the Jamestown Foundation just told you that everybody in Nigeria is a terrorist because they all sympathize with the terrorists, which is and because anybody who doesn't want you to rob them is a terrorist now. Okay, and that's basically again, this is all contrived nonsense from the people who bring you this nonsense.
The U.S. government charges bin Laden with supporting terrorist activities throughout the Middle East.
The U.S. today has set a double standard, calling whoever goes against its injustice a terrorist. It wants to occupy our countries, steal our resources, impose agents on us to rule us, and then wants us to agree to all this. If we refuse to do so, it says we are terrorists.
Their ideology is very much in tune and in sync. Most of the people I met with, and according to a Pew poll that I didn't have a chance to reference, 71% of Nigerians want Sharia law. Most people, not only Northerners but also Southerners, believe that the government is stealing from them with respect to oil wealth, and Mark touched on that. These are the same qualms of Boko Haram.
How many acres under cultivation?
500.
The rest of it's wild.
Well, the Kikuyu live there.
Why don't you move them off?
Because they live there.
Well, we know that Nigeria, we think of Nigeria as a wealthy country with huge oil resources.
Nigeria is Africa's largest oil and gas exporter, but it has no capacity to refine oil into fuel or other byproduct. So locals often experience long queues for petrol and products like kerosene, with skyrocketing prices because they're imported.
These political crises and security and humanitarian crises are worsened by the recurrent acts of banditry, such as abductions of civilians or maritime piracy.
That was in the United Nations General Assembly. That's a Cameroonian representative. I think it was their president also, and he says these abductions and piracy again. Well, let's just keep it going. But there is no piracy. Still, I'm sorry, but I would. These oil companies have loads of money and sophistication, and they are not getting jacked on the high seas by a bunch of guys in a motorboat.
But more frightening overall.
Like you're led to believe because you tend to believe that we would have to be an absolute moron, but that's what people tell us. And listen to this one.
Is the vast increase in piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. And much like the pipeline attacks, significant underreporting of the pipeline attacks, in particular, massive underreporting with the piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Many analysts estimate that up to 2/3 to 75% of the piracy that occurs offshore now in the Gulf of Guinea, off of Nigeria's coast, Benin's coast, Togo's coast, Cameroon, Ghana. Much of that, up to 75% goes unreported.
Yeah, there's a lot of unreported piracy in the Gulf of Guinea.
You're a bald-faced liar.
Yes, Mr. Smith. The CIA told us you'd be coming. Your assignment is to protect this oil pipeline.
Okay, in the TV, in the cartoon show, which and let's face it, every bit of information you need is in these cartoon shows. They tell him that he's in the CIA, and they're like, yeah, you're here to protect the pipeline.
Nigeria roughly has the potential to produce 2.23 million.
Yes, Mr. Smith. The CIA told us you'd be coming. Your assignment is to protect this oil pipeline.
Nigeria roughly has the potential to produce 2.23 million barrels per day of oil. By 2008, at its apex, for several months, the oil bunkering and the attacks on oil installations conducted by MEND were cutting the oil production down by we're cutting oil production by 1 million barrels per day for several month period. On average, over the course of a couple of years.
Yeah, according to due to piracy, the pirates are stealing 1 million barrels of oil a day? Are you kidding me?
It was roughly, production was cut by 25%. But these types of numbers really had an effect on MEND, plain and simple, was able to move global oil prices.
Right. MEND is another militant group supposedly who is pirating oil, and they moved global oil prices because they were pirating so much that the Nigerian output was reduced by 25%. That's nonsense. That is nonsense. I promise you.
My ass may be dumb, but I ain't no dumb ass.
Africa has coal and Africa has oil, but environmental groups are campaigning against the use of these cheap sources of energy. Instead, they say Africa and the rest of the developing world should use solar and wind power.
We are being told, don't touch your resource, don't touch your oil, don't touch your coal. That is suicide.
Like Timothy Joseph, who runs the local barbershop. He was spending $5 a day on a generator to power his tools before solar power was introduced. Now his electricity is free.
The solar I use to do my business now. Before I'm using gen to went to buy fuel, but now I'm saving my money. That's what I'm going to use to help my family. On roof.
Okay, he was saying he called it a gen. It's a gen. He meant generator, and he's saying they showed this guy. He's got a little barbershop. He's got is one electric device. It's a razor, buzz razor. He's buzzing somebody's hair, and they're talking about that. That's how Africans. That's what type of electrical. So they're going to use a solar panel. He's going to get a solar panel, and it saves him money on electricity.
The challenge we have when we meet Western environmentalists who say we must engage in use of solar panels and wind energy is how we can have Africa industrialized. Because I don't see how a solar panel is going to power a steel industry, how a solar panel, is going to power maybe some railway train network. It might work maybe to power a small transistor radio.
Yeah, and so they're telling Africans that they need to use wind power and solar power, which is all nice and good, but they're like this guy saying that it's basically so to keep Africans from industrializing because solar panel is nice for a transistor radio or a buzzer for your barbershop, but you are not going to power a train network or a airline terminal with solar panels or millions of homes and with flat TV screens and things like that. And they screw everybody in Africa. Tells me, all Africans tell me about how they one. I was talking to a taxi driver in New York from Guinea Conakry, and he told me that he was like they get electricity in Ghana all the 24 hours every day. He was saying, I was like, yeah, that's what this Ghanaian guy told me. He's like, oh man, we never get we're lucky if we get half a day ever. And that's just disgusting to me. And these people, they're just fucking with these people, and there's no reason for them not having electricity. It's just ridiculous, and that's because that's how they're trying to exterminate these people and not trying to help them industrialize, and the whole global warming scam is built around preventing third world from industrializing while robbing the first world of whatever their wealth, and it just that's what these people are up to, and you believe it.
Let me make one thing perfectly clear. If we're telling the third world that they can only have wind and solar power, what we are really telling them is you cannot have electricity.
The environmental movement has evolved into the strongest force there is for preventing development in the developing countries.
And I am all for not polluting and things like that, but this has nothing to do with that whatsoever. This is about robbing the third world and get rid of them while they can steal the resources, and when we are not benefiting from this. And not only that, but there is no problem with the environment, okay, in Africa by any means, and this is none of this has anything to do with that. Neither is global warming. It's all about world government criminals robbing people, and people got to get that through their head, okay, and stop believing what criminals tell you on TV. That's nonsense.
The Niger Delta still remains today the largest single source of greenhouse gas emissions on this planet.
Okay, the Niger Delta is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions on the planet. Like you see, again, they're the problem, and again, this is coming from a bunch of liars.
Due to the gas flaring coming out of the region. Likewise, according to Nigerian government statistics, from 1970 to the year 2000, on average, in each year, there was up to 250 oil spills, which, doing the math, comes down to about 5 oil spills per week in the region.
5 oil spills a week. This is nonsense, just total garbage again, and they're going to appeal to like, so what do we do about that? Oh, maybe we should send in some more CIA or something, and maybe to help them clean up the oil spills. Or troops or something, or NATO.
The UN has said that just to begin operations,
or United Nations troops,
to clean things up, it would take an initial investment of $1 billion, and over the course of 30 years to try to clean up the amount of oil that has been spilled in the region.
Yeah, because they just spill too much oil over there. You know how those Nigerians are. They're oil spillers.
One clear thing that emerges from the whole environmental debate is the point that there's somebody keen to kill the African dream, and the African dream is to develop.
Exactly, and they're trying to prevent Africans from developing, so they could just pretty much exterminate them and steal their shit.
We're seeing these are enormously wealthy people who are not satisfied with just personal wealth. They want to control all assets and all natural resources. So we're talking about land, we're talking about oil and gas, timber, water is a very vital part of this, controlling all water.
I'm sorry, sir. They shut down the water. This is all we have.
I say water no get enemy. I say water no get enemy.
That was Fela Kuti and a song called Water No Get Enemy, and I just thought that was kind of cool. He's Nigerian, and he was very outspoken politically. Look him up, Fela Kuti, and some great music, and he was singing about the water problems, and again, that's not just in Africa, folks, because if you check out my show on Detroit a few months ago, you'll see that they're trying to privatize their water supply, and that was going on all over Michigan, and it's going on out west too, in Stockton, California, and believe me, they're putting stuff in the water as well, and as we all know, and these people are a bunch of murdering criminals, and this is really getting disgusting. It's beyond disgusting. It's criminal, and people people need to put the iPhone down and stop playing Angry Birds for a second and start paying attention to what's going on, because these people are out of control. And so now they're going to try to control your water, your food, and your power, and your electric, and that's pretty much gotten you by the balls, folks.
Our new Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition continues to grow, aiming to lift 50 million Africans from poverty.
Oh yeah, they're really trying to help people with food security, whatever that means.
How about you? You still on Earth or on the ship with me? But it doesn't make very much difference, because sooner or later, will all of us be on the menu? All of us.
There are murderers sitting high in seats of government. They are bland, napalm-making baby killers sitting around the councils of the tables of our largest corporations. They are the worst killers of all. They kill not in anger, not even for revenge. Their murders are wholesale and coldly planned, carried out for profit, and they will kill anyone and anything that gets in the way.
Them dress up in that jacket and them dress up in that tie. Want to deprive I man from my rights. Them a murderer. Them a murderer.
And you're being conned. As more tax money goes off, for more militaries to be sent abroad to conquer the rest of Africa and plunder it as well, and bring it into the same system as you have here, you see.
So the most important thing individuals can do who care is to send cash.
They're lying to us.
As I said, they strike with impunity. It doesn't matter if it's a church, it doesn't matter if it's a mosque, it doesn't matter if it's a school or a market, government barracks or public building. They have hacked people to death, burned people alive. That's what they did here.
They strike with impunity.
These men felt that they can get away with this, and they can abuse women in such a way, sell them, rape them, take them as property, because so many people have gotten away with this in the past, because of this culture of impunity.
It's a culture of impunity. They strike with impunity. Like, impunity means like you're not being prosecuted. You're able to skirt the law. And so what's the answer for that? We need more police state. We need more police. We need more punitive arrangements.
As I said, they strike with impunity.
They strike with impunity.
Because of the lack of impunity, and because people believe they can get away with this, people will commit these kind of crimes. And
Angelina Jolie, she's like, there's a lack of impunity, so people think they can get away with it, so they commit these crimes.
Hey, that's Angelina Jolie. I thought this was a documentary.
Really? Yeah, she's an actress, and she's like, yeah, they're striking with impunity. I thought this was like serious as a documentary. Let me play that one again. I like that one.
Hey, that's Angelina Jolie. I thought this was a documentary.
Diplomatic immunity. Isn't that what you all rely on around here?
I have to protect this organization, and so should you.
The UN is too fragile, too important. That's what immunity is for.
Immunity, not impunity.
In Nigeria, the threat of terrorism in a few states in the northeastern part of the country has proven to be a challenge to national stability. We will spare no effort in addressing this menace. We are therefore confronting it with every resource at our disposal, with due regard for fundamental human rights and the rule of law. Nigeria would like to place on record its appreciation to the international community for its support in this regard. The reign of terror anywhere in the world is an assault on our collective humanity.
There you go. That's a good look, Jonathan. Again, at the United Nations General Assembly, he's saying he wants to thank the international community for helping them on their assault on terrorism, and he said their collective humanity. Again,
all collectivist systems eventually deteriorate into a police state.
And this type of terrorism is used to get more police on the streets, to get further and faster into a police state.
Legislation will be brought forward to introduce new powers to tackle antisocial behavior, cut crime, and further reform the police.
To the Queen. So what we've done is we have offered, and it's been accepted, help from our military and law enforcement officials. We're going to do everything we can to provide assistance to them.
Okay, so we're bringing our law enforcement. We've offered and we've sent our law enforcement into Nigeria again to again the and May Brussels just said that this type of terrorism is used to put on more police, and then Obama's like, yep, that's what we're doing. We're sending more police. And and the Queen is like, I passed legislation to get more police and to what'd you say to
Legislation will be brought forward to introduce new powers to tackle antisocial behavior.
Right, to tackle antisocial behavior.
To the Queen.
Linda.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Why wasn't I informed about the poor security networks we have here?
Okay, that was in the Nollywood kidnapping movie again. She's like, why wasn't I informed? She's an executive, a businesswoman. She's like, why wasn't I informed about the poor security networks we have here? Again, that's in Nigeria. And well, you know what? Maybe we should. So she's telling the Nigerian people, we have poor security networks here. We need more police state. We need to invite the United Nations and the American troops and the European Union troops, and good luck, Jonathan's like, yeah, I want to thank you guys for providing all those people for us. That's really helping us, and it's not because you want to steal our resources and our oil and enslave our people. No.
Can I have your ID, please?
Can I have your ID, please?
Can I help you, sir?
Let me see your identity card.
Again, so in last flight from Abuja, can I have your ID card? Hotel Rwanda, can I have your ID card?
Are you okay?
I can't find my ID. I don't know where my ID is. What? I can't find my ID. I can't find my ID.
Where are your papers, man? Where are your papers?
My name is Solomon North. I'm a free man, a resident of Saratoga, New York, the residence of my wife and children who are equally free, and you have no right whatsoever to detain me.
You're not any free
And I promise you upon my liberation, I will have satisfaction for this wrong.
Resolve this. Produce your papers.
We're deepening our security cooperation to meet common threats from terrorism to human trafficking. We're launching a new security governance initiative to help our African countries continue to build strong professional security forces to provide for their own security. And we're starting with Kenya, Niger, Mali, Nigeria, Ghana, and Tunisia.
Okay, we need security for security, and that was, and the clip before that was Obama, and the clip before that was from 12 Years a Slave, the twisted movie that won so many Academy Awards this year, and they in 12 Years a Slave, he's like, well, the guy's, he's like, he gets they tell him he's a slave, and he's like, no, I'm not, I'm a free man, and he's like, well, show me your papers. and then he goes away to be a slave again for another 12 years or something like that. That movie was so disturbing, and not because I believed any of it. It was just like all it was to do was to get people to hate each other and to be bitter about this and that, and to make it, and it looked very, it was whatever. It just. That movie was just to propagandize people into fighting with each other again and again. So if you fight with each other, you won't pay attention to the world government criminals that are robbing everybody and killing everybody.
We will continue with our escort missions and counter-piracy operations in the Gulf of Aden and increase participation in UN peacekeeping operations so as to contribute more to peace and security in Africa and other relevant regions.
That was the Chinese representative at the United Nations, and they're like, we're going to increase security in Africa, and we're going to escort boats or whatever in the Gulf of Aden. This is just more. So Chinese like, we're in on the police state too. Isn't that nice?
Belgium also encourages the Congolese authorities to implement the necessary structural reforms in the army and in the police in order to restore the rule of law in the entire territory.
Okay, so Belgium is, that was in the United Nations also, and Belgium's representative said, we want to restore police and the rule of law in Congo. Isn't that nice? Even thanks Belgium, in the Belgian Congo, and I'm sure like that's not a big enough mess, and they're not killing. And again, I told you, my friend, his personal friend who works at the United Nations for 30 years, told me that there was all kinds of atrocities that she read herself, documents she read herself about them, about the Belgians and the United Nations criminal forces killing and raping and just creating havoc for all the people of the Congo. And the Congo is one of the largest countries, land masses in Africa, and there's loads of resources there that they're robbing from people. And Belgium's like, yep, we need more police in there too.
We have here at home the rise of a domestic police state.
People who today know that there's a country called America that cares for them too, and that is willing to stand up, not just for our own security, but for the dignity and freedom that belongs to all people.
Yeah, we stand up for your security.
We see the emergence within the Western European countries, particularly the United States, Canada, Britain, Australia. We see the emergence of a police state apparatus.
Get back! Police activity!
So, what is the actual difference between a Hutu and a Tutsi?
According to the Belgian colonists, the Tutsis are taller, more elegant. It was the Belgians that created the division.
Oh.
They pick people, those with thinner noses, lighter skinned. They used to measure the width of people's noses.
Let's start putting everybody through facial recognition, cross-referencing with INS, DMV, every database we've got.
What we've done is highly illegal, Miles, and if we get caught, we'll be destroyed, along with you.
What do you mean destroyed? What do you mean destroyed?
Your brain will be electronically simplified.
My brain? It's my second favorite organ.
Resistors to mind reprogramming will be exterminated for the good of the state.
Yes, you're living in a police state. Your government is evil.
So today was an opportunity to highlight the importance of rule of law, open and accountable institutions, strong civil societies, and protection of human rights for all citizens and all communities. So today was an opportunity to highlight the importance of rule of law.
Police got a chokehold they use out here, though, man. They choke niggas to death. That mean you be dead when they through. Right? Did you know that? Wait, the niggas going, yeah, we know wife. No, I had no idea.
What about the old American social custom of self-defense? If the police don't defend us, maybe we ought to do it ourselves.
We're not pioneers anymore, Dad.
What are we, Jack?
What do you mean?
I mean, if we're not pioneers, what have we become? What do you call people who, when they're faced with a condition of fear, do nothing about it? They just run and hide.
Civilized?
No.
That was Charles Bronson in Death Wish, and he's like, the police aren't taking care of us, so I gotta go out there and be a vigilante and do it myself. And that's going to be excuse for you can't do that, so let's just get more police. And then he says, what do you call people who run and hide instead of protecting themselves? And the other guy and his son-in-law says civilized, which is twisted.
What about the old American social custom of self-defense?
The people in these countries themselves are able to arrive at the kinds of political accommodations and compromise that any civilized society requires.
Right, so civilized people require compromise, okay, and more police state and more lockdown and more bootlicking. That's what you need. That's what that makes you civilized. If you're a bootlicking slave to a bunch of inbred criminals.
The United States is a police state that masquerades as a democracy.
I think international or transboundary crisis management is important because I think we're all accepting that we cannot prevent peace threats. So some of them will materialize in one way or another, and we don't know which ones and we don't know how. So then we need the capacity to jointly work together across boundaries, across countries and legal boundaries, administrative boundaries, to jointly cope with something that we don't know what's going to happen. And that's why crisis management is important.
Okay, that was from the Stockholm Crisis Center. I found that little promotional video. And this guy, this twisted guy, is saying that we need to go across borders and collectively. And again, we need a world government, a world police state force to help deal, because we never know you never know when these crises are going to happen. You never know when there's going to be terrorists somewhere and stuff like that. And that's, again, this is all built. It's all built around a lie that there are any terrorists, except for the people who are doing the terrorizing and the reign of terror, which is orchestrated by the world government criminal cabal again.
The plan is a totalitarian plan to control you.
What kind of government you guys got here? This is worse than California.
It's like the Footloose town times 1,000,000.
And these manufactured, fabricated acts of terrorism are used in a propagandistic way to justify the wars against terrorist countries. And, of course, also, they're being used to create a police state.
When people have the freedom to choose, they choose wrong.
Resistors to mind reprogramming will be exterminated for the good of the state.
Terrorism constitutes a major threat to global peace and security and undermines the capacity for sustained development.
The basic terms of...
that was Good Luck Jonathan again, the United Nations again, and he said terrorism undermines the capacity for sustained development. Sustained development is the meme or the phrase used for the 2014 General Assembly, was like the year of sustainable development. Sustainable development means again is like we can't sustain the luxury that we have, so everybody's got to cut back, and the world government criminals have to get more, and you have to get less, and you have to give up your pension. That's sustaining your development, okay? And again, that's there is no indication that they're running out of anything, okay? And except for our sensibilities, I think that's what we need to sustain. We need to sustain the development of our sensibilities, okay? Because this is, to believe these liars, nonsensical liars, is just a joke. And how anybody could, I don't know, but that's what we get from time and time and over 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 again.
The basic terms of what this representative would do are still being worked on.
Ultimately, it would include...
Okay, so that's the representative from the United Nations who's talking about a representative they're going to assign to Nigeria, and he says, we don't even know what he's going to do, but we're working on that, but we're just going to put him in there anyway, and then we'll go from there.
Basic terms of what this representative would do are still being worked on. Ultimately, it would include ways of strengthening cooperation on issues of counterterrorism and on issues of human rights. But beyond that, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's just he's going to go in there and boss you around, and he's unelected, and he's going to strengthen your cooperation. That's how he's going to do it. He's going to, strengthen your cooperation.
We did have a energy trade mission travel to several countries, including Nigeria, and the Department of Energy joined us on that. We work very closely with Department of Commerce and USTR and trade missions. Of course, Health and Human Services and CDC closely cooperate with Nigerian health institutions on our health sector reforms. The Association of
these are all the NGOs and these non-governmental and pseudo and quasi-governmental agencies that are all really privately funded fascist hitmen, apparatchiks, or if you will, for the world government. Cabals again in there, and this lady again from Jamestown Foundation is saying that we brought in a Commerce Department people, and we brought and they're gonna, and the Energy Department, they're gonna discuss their energy. Then we're gonna say, then she's like, and we got governors, they're gonna govern them, and it's all about we're doing Nigeria loads of good.
Governors is getting involved with Nigerian governors. Again, what we'd like to do is to develop more of the ties based on the similarities in our federal system.
We develop more ties based on our similarities of our systems, our federal systems. Again, we just bring in more police state and more slave, and when we want to make your slaves just like our stupid police state lockdown slaves.
And get the governors more involved in programs with their counterparts. So I think whole of government, means that through the federal level, but also through the state level. And we'd like to, develop more of the institutional ties that I think again will lead to greater cooperation on strengthening institutions and good governance.
Good governance. Here we go.
My government will ensure the security, good governance, and development of the overseas territories.
To the Queen. We address good governance, which is a foundation of economic growth in free societies.
Economic reforms and good governance.
Thus contributing to good governance.
We must provide good governance.
Good governance is another important aspect of successfully pursuing sustainable growth.
Good governance is the buzzword of the meme for totalitarian rule by the Queen of England and the Rockefellers. That's your good governance. It's good for you. It's good governance.
On good governance, one of the best inoculators against terrorist infiltration is a society in which everybody feels as if they have a stake in the existing order.
Everybody has a stake in the existing new world order, and when they feel they have a stake in it, not that they do, but they feel they do, and they inoculate you, whatever that's about. That's along the lines of vaccinate, I guess. This is just twisted stuff, and that's Obama. People like my good friend for 40 years. He's like, Max, you don't think Obama's a bright guy? And I'm like, whatever. A bright guy. He's white because he could read a script that he was prepared for him by clever people. I mean, I told him, I said, he reminds me of Sugar Ray Leonard. That's because he could say 3 words in a sentence. They was like, oh, he's a bright guy too. Whatever. There is no, who knows if he's a bright guy or not, because all he's doing is telling you that we need a new world order and good governance.
On good governance, one of the best inoculators against terrorist infiltration is a society in which everybody feels as if they have a stake in the existing order.
I'm not brainwashed.
purpose? Or can't you make up your mind?
That's the trouble. I can't make up my mind. I haven't got a brain. Only straw.
How can you talk if you haven't got a brain?
I don't know. But some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
Yes, I guess you're right.
Only with good governance in place.
Principles of good governance.
The rule of law and good governance.
We address good governance, which is a foundation of economic growth in free societies.
Just for the record, these are all clips from good, where they say good governance in the United Nations General Assembly. Again, I got Latvia, Australia, Malaysia, Poland, Poland twice, Qatar, Indonesia. This is Gabon, who's frankly a friend of mine. Her brother is her father was the president of Gabon, and her name is Yaya Bongo, and now her brother is the president of Gabon. And they need sustainable development and good governance.
Sustainable development must indeed be accompanied by good governance.
There you go, Gabon.
Good governance has to be part of the recipe that we use for a strong, stable, and prosperous Africa.
Good governance is a recipe for a sustainable, prosperous Africa. That's Obama again. Yeah, he really cares a lot about that.
My government will ensure the security, good governance, and development of the overseas territories.
We're developing the overseas territory with good governance. That's the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth herself.
To the Queen.
Mr. President, Secretary General, members of the General Assembly, I address you today as Queen of 16 United Nations member states.
She's Queen of 16 United Nations member states, which is really, those states are countries, but she calls them states because she's the queen of them.
And as head of the Commonwealth of 54 countries.
Okay, she's queen of 16 countries and head of the Commonwealth of 54. I'm not sure what the difference is because she's the head of one and the queen of the other. I guess head and queen are two different things, but that's twisted. That's in front of the United Nations itself. Okay, she's in front of the General Assembly, and she's just told you that she's the queen. I stand here before you as the queen of 16 countries. I think that's absolutely disgusting, to say the least, that we have queens at all, and she's a queen, and she's bragging about it in front of me. Like that's not enough to kick her the fuck out of the United Nations to begin with. No, we're gonna embrace that and bow to her like fucking stupid slaves. This is despicable, and how in this day and age that could even go on is just beyond me.
Mr. President, Secretary General, members of the General Assembly, I address you today as Queen of 16 United Nations member states and as head of the Commonwealth of 54 countries.
There is no arable land that size outside the reserve. And if there were, we'd not put natives on it.
Since it's theirs.
It belongs to the Crown, Baroness.
Okay, that was a clip from Out of Africa. That was Meryl Streep again, and he's the banker guy, and he's saying, there is no land that farmable land that we could put these people that she kicked off. They kicked off her land, the land that she bought, called the Kikuyu, and she said, well, that's their land, and he said, no, it's not. That's the Crown's land. Okay, that's the Queen's land, boy. And she's like, no, that's their land. He's like, no, it's not. That's the Crown's land, honey.
Never mind fuck the Queen, fuck the loyal peasants, fuck the jingoist, patriotic, flag-waving, lowbrow, unevolved, ill-informed masses that buy this shit and prop it up with their unthinking acquiescence.
Exactly, and I feel the same way. I'm like, if the people are gonna allow this, then he's like, don't just say fuck the Queen, fuck the peasants too, because they're allowing this with their unthinking acquiescence, and I can't agree with that more. I mean, how can anybody she's standing in front of the General Assembly telling you that she's the queen of 16 countries and 54 others in their Commonwealth that she's the head of, okay? and how we could stand for that, or even how could we be in the United Nations if that's the case? How could we even be part of that if that was the case? But that's because she's running it, and these people are robbing people and going around making up fake terror plots and fake stories and nonsense to take your guns away and to move you into a police state and put more police in the street and lock you down some more, and it's just everywhere you look, and it's going to get worse, and because this show ain't over. Let's keep it going.
If one thinks about it long enough, one will realize that all tyrants, past and most especially present, must use deception of their population to initiate a war. No citizen of a modern industrialized nation will send their children off to die in a war to grab another nation's resources and assets, yet resources and assets are what all wars are fought over. The nation that wishes to initiate a war of conquest must create the illusion of an attack or a threat to start a war, and must always give their population of cowards an excuse never to question that carefully crafted illusion.
The war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. The essential act of modern warfare is the destruction of the produce of human labor. A hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. The war is...
We are here to protest the fact that America is whining and dining with dictators, tyrants, bloodthirsty dictators ruling Ethiopia.
And it goes on and on, the good old game of war, pawn against pawn, stopping the bad guys. While somewhere, some thing sits back and laughs and starts it all over again.
And joining us from Washington, D.C., he's the former U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, John Campbell of the Council on Foreign Relations. Thank you for being with us here in the France 24.
It's good to be with you.
Debate.
Okay, and he's on the France 24 debate. He's John Campbell. He was a former Nigerian ambassador to the UN, and he's also a member of the CFR.
Thank you very much. John Campbell, Council on Foreign Relations.
Okay, so they're all over this, and who are they?
From its beginning in 1921, the CFR began to attract men of power and influence. In the late 1920s, important financing for the CFR came from the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation. In 1940, at the invitation of President Roosevelt, members of the CFR gained domination over the State Department, and they have maintained that domination ever since.
Batman, I... Say no more, Robin. It could be compromising.
CFR members include America's wealthiest tycoons, as well as the highly placed elite in government, academic institutions, tax-exempt foundations, and the establishment media. Ruling Class Journalists, written by Richard Harwood, describes the CFR membership as the ruling establishment in the United States. The Washington Post article boasted that news reporters who are CFR members do not merely analyze and interpret foreign policy for the United States, they help make it.
Kennedy said there's a hidden government behind my back. Kennedy said there's a hidden government behind my back. He said there's a hidden government behind my back.
Kennedy said there's a hidden government behind my back. Okay? And you're hearing that the CFR is really the ruling body behind the United States government. I'm quite convinced of that also. And then you have the comment to the news. He acts as if he's a journalist. He was on CNN and on France 24, and he's also talking at the Jamestown Foundation. And he's John Campbell.
Thank you very much, John Campbell, Council on Foreign Relations.
Right, and Kennedy said there's.
Kennedy said there's a hidden government behind my back.
Okay, and Kennedy said there's a hidden government behind my back, and
we have to realize that the Fox News network is part of the Rupert Murdoch empire, and like so many of the other great media centers, like ABC, CBS, NBC, they're all in the hands of members of the Council on Foreign Relations.
One of the CFR's strongest media allies is the New York Times. As a major outlet for the establishment viewpoint, the Times has achieved dominant influence over the reporting of national and international news. The Times is relied upon by many editors in the mainstream news media for direction on how to portray world events. In addition, the Times wire service retails the establishment line to subsidiary outlets such as broadcast news distributors and regional newspapers. Competition between these outlets rests primarily on the style of regurgitating the same message.
At the UN's founding conference in San Francisco, 43 of the U.S. delegates, virtually the entire contingent, were CFR members.
In an age even of computer communication and international communication and the ability to communicate with the people by fax and in all kinds of different ways, it still is important to be somewhere, to be in a place, to see people, to deal with them, and to be face-to-face with them. And New York City gives you that opportunity. The Rockefeller family understood that and foresaw that New York was the inevitable home for the United Nations, the geographical center for the voice of humanity.
The United Nations can and should play an essential role in helping the world find a satisfactory way of stabilizing world population.
Okay, so that's David Rock after Giuliani giving blowing the United Nations and the Rockefeller family more than once, and he's and anybody from New York who knows about Rudy Giuliani knows what a jerk off he is, and a complicit criminal in the 9/11 attacks or the 9/11 event, which was perpetrated not by Arab Muslim terrorists but by insiders once again, including David Rockefeller, and Giuliani was brown-nosing his way through that thing on Rockefeller's call. Anyway, David Rockefeller, in his own words, said the United Nations should lead the way towards depopulation and population control of essentially third world countries, and here we go with that section. So we're getting our police forces and our police state in there, and to top it all off, now we have to exterminate Africans and Nigerians specifically once again. And if you don't think that's, and I'm going to show you how that all forms in these next two segments. Again, David Rockefeller, we'll start him off again, and then we're going to let it roll.
The United Nations can and should play an essential role in helping the world find a satisfactory way of stabilizing world population.
NSSM 200, formulated in cooperation with the United States Agency for International Development, the U.S. State Department, the Department of Defense, and the Central Intelligence Agency. One of its goals was to establish a strategy for reducing the populations of third world countries so that the United States could have increased access to their natural resources, particularly minerals and metals.
Okay, so the NSSM was formed that was 35 years ago. Was formed with all these inside the CIA, the Department of Defense, with the intention of getting rid of the populations of these countries that we wish to steal their resources from. Isn't that nice? And let's just keep it going from there.
The connection between the United Nations, New York City, and the Rockefeller Foundation is clearly drawn.
J.D. Rockefeller III established a population council in 1952 and played a leading role in the efforts to bring the problem of overpopulation to global attention.
I think it's a bit of a joke the way people have made this overpopulation thing into a kind of myth. I don't really believe it, you know. I think whatever happens will balance itself out and work itself out. It's all right for us all living saying, oh, well, there's enough of us, so we won't have any more. Don't let anybody else live. I don't believe in that. I think we've got enough food and money to feed everybody. And I think the natural balance, even though old people will last longer, I'm sure there's enough room for us, and some of them can go to the moon anyway.
You mean you think there's enough if it were
I don't believe overpopulation, you know. I think that's just a kind of myth that the government has thrown out to keep your mind off Vietnam and Ireland and all the important subjects.
Oh, I think you're wrong about that.
Oh, I don't care.
John Lennon, and when he told you that he doesn't believe in this overpopulation crap, neither do I, and frankly, I don't believe the world's population is even growing. I think that mathematically you can prove that. I'm not going to go into that too deep right now, but that's my view, and I will gladly just send me an email, and I'll discuss that with you. He says, I don't believe that crap, and then stupid Dick Cavett is like, well, I disagree, and then Lennon's like, well, I don't care what you think, okay? And then they didn't kill Dick Cavett, they killed John Lennon, okay? And it's because you can't go around saying things like that again when you have a bunch of New World Order criminals who basically, Kennedy said, they're running a secret government behind my back. He's gone too, okay? And the list goes on, and we can go from there. There's a bunch of groups that are involved with the NSSM, which is the Depopulation Council, and the Rockefeller wants to stabilize population, quote unquote. John Lennon said, "I don't believe that crap. Neither do I. Neither does Max Ratt." And now we're going to see all the same groups. The same groups are going to be all involved with these. Still to this day with this depopulation thing, and you're going to see how they do it too. Here's Hillary.
What we're doing now at the Clinton Foundation, under the rubric of the No Ceilings Initiative, is partnering with the Gates Foundation. We are doing a comprehensive global review, an assessment of what we've achieved and what still remains to be done.
The comprehensive global review is the Agenda 21 inventory of resources, whether they're human resources or physical resources. That's the global assessment that she talks about. They're going to call it all kinds of different fancy names, and the Ceilings Initiative, and now she's in. So now it's the Clinton Foundation in cahoots with the Gates Foundation, and who else?
And I think the early returns on this, because obviously we're partnering with a number of other philanthropies, with the United Nations, the World Bank, and so much else.
Okay, so it's now she said philanthropies. She said the Clinton Foundation, the Gates Foundation, and the United Nations and the World Bank. Okay, and there you go, and let's keep it going.
A network of partners, including national governments, WHO, Rotary International, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the International Federation of the Red Cross.
Okay, so then you got UNICEF, Red Cross. These are the same philanthropies and quote unquote and NGOs, and the World Bank and UNICEF, and again you're gonna hear. Okay, so here it is again.
Here's this is from their website. They're comprised of government agencies in both countries, so it's bilateral, developing governments and developed governments. NGOs, World Health Organization, UNICEF, World Bank.
UNICEF, World Bank, World Health Organization, same thing. These are the same groups, okay? Hillary said United Nations, UNICEF, that's UNICEF. World Bank, Hillary said also. Let's play that again.
Here's this is from their website. They're comprised of government agencies in both countries, so it's bilateral, developing governments and developed governments. NGOs, World Health Organization, UNICEF, World Bank, private organizations like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Gates.
And industry, the vaccine manufacturers. Now this list looks familiar. I've seen this somewhere before. Here's the NSSM statement. Here's who they said they were going to use 30 years ago to reduce population. World Bank, World Health, UNICEF, UN Population Fund, donor countries, private groups, etc. It's the same thing. Maybe a wild coincidence. But the trouble is, these two organizations are doing something that's completely opposite. NSM 200 wants to reduce the population somehow. Gavi wants to increase the population, or so it would seem. Doesn't good health promote growth?
Right, so it would seem, because but Gates will tell you that no, good health promotes depopulation, and Gates will even tell you that they're going to get rid of 1 billion people with good health. But it's really the same thing. It's the same exact people. It's UNICEF, World Bank, Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's the same people. So exactly the same people, the same foundations, the same World Bank and UNICEF and Red Cross and all these groups that they put together that they explicitly said they were going to use to depopulate things, and now they're going to but now they're not going to use it to depopulate things. They're going to use it to give good health to people, but it's the same people again.
The Nigerian government, UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and their partners are responding to this influx of cases with a third round of polio immunization that will target over 4.2 million children in the country.
There you go again. So they're targeting. UNICEF is targeting these the 4.2 million kids, 4.2 million children in Nigeria alone. UNICEF is targeting them, and for vaccination.
What the West wants to do with Africa. And then you'll find the reasons for all the excuses they come out with as to why they must go in. It's nothing to do with them. They don't give a darn about children, folks. Have you figured that out yet? They don't give a darn about children.
Today, where is their high population growth? It's in the places with the worst health conditions, northern Nigeria, northern India. And so the two problems go exactly hand in hand. If we improve health rapidly, we will get the peak population to be as much as 1 billion below the current expected peak. That is about 8.3 billion versus 9.3.
Okay, and he says that if we improve health rapidly, we can reduce the population. Again, wouldn't good health promote growth? No, not according to Bill Gates. It doesn't. And he wants to vaccinate 4.2 million kids in Nigeria alone. He also specifically just said Nigeria is where they have a big problem with the population.
I think they're all insane.
Exactly.
Our foundation first started up, it was focused on reproductive health. That was the main thing we did because I thought, population growth in poor countries is the biggest problem they face.
Okay, population growth in the poor countries is the biggest problem they face, or he faces, or whatever, but he's obsessed with population growth. And again, I don't like the way, I'm not going to ever like, he twists the word, so he doesn't just say reduction in population, he says reduction in population growth, which is just another twisted way he goes about doing things.
Turn away, straight up there.
That was Joe Cocker doing Whiter Shade of Pale, and Whiter Shade of Pale, I use that, if you didn't hear the first show, was because the Boko Haram nomenclature is very similar, sounds to Procol Harum, which was a 70s rock group, and their big hit was called Whiter Shade of Pale, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that a lot of people, when they hear Boko Haram, think Procol Harum and think Whiter Shade of Pale. Just a little of a subliminal message to you there, and that was Joe Cocker doing Whiter Shade of Pale.
Turn away, straight up there.
Well, let's look at Gabby a little closer.
Gabby is Gates's foundation, another one of Gates's groups, which is called the Global Alliance for Vaccination and Immunization, Gavi. And Dr. David Ayub was very knowledgeable and very articulate. Came after them in a fantastic, very, very informative video from probably maybe 10 years ago, maybe even about 10 years ago. So some of his numbers are even a little bit low because it's gotten way worse since then. But anyway, so he was talking about Gavi, and let's see what he says.
Well, let's look at Gavi a little closer. They have supporting nations, and there's the list: USA, Canada, and the Anglo-European countries. It's an Anglo organization. And the recipient nations are, I would say, non-Anglo, for the most part. And the money...
Anglo is white, needless to say, and he said the recipient nations, or the targeted nations, are non-Anglo.
We're talking Uganda, 92 million, Nigeria, 81 million. Well, let's look at Gavi a little closer.
One more time, sorry.
They have supporting nations, and there's the list: USA, Canada, and the Anglo-European countries. It's an Anglo organization. And the recipient nations are, I would say, non-Anglo, for the most part. And the money we're talking, Uganda 92 million, Nigeria 81 million. So there's some big money. And in fact, Nigeria, I will say, was number one on the list for NSSM. They were really concerned about growth in Nigeria leading Africa. So it doesn't surprise me that Gabby is vaccinating the heck out of Nigeria.
Gabby vaccinating the heck out of Nigeria, he called it, and that is not surprising. And you heard Gates talk about Nigeria has a big population problem, and their idea of how do you fix a population problem with better health through vaccines, which is just twisted, and it's obvious that they're using it to exterminate people in Africa, and specifically in Nigeria, which is the largest population in Africa. This is clear as clear can be. Rockefeller said that's what they want to do. Gates is saying that's what they want to do. The NSM said that's what they want to do. Now the same exact group of people are calling it good health and doing the same exact thing.
I have Scotch-Irish skin.
That was Dr. James Watson talking about, and he's twisted also, and he's the guy, he was from my cancer show, he's a Nobel Prize winner in molecular biology, and he's saying, I got Scotch-Irish skin.
Holy nightmare, Batman, could it be?
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Okay, he's going to lower the world's population with really great job in reproductive care and new vaccines. Again, Gates, in his own words.
More than 400,000 volunteers and health workers aim to immunize 85 million children.
400,000 workers aim to vaccinate 85 million children in Africa alone. That's the plan, folks.
You're talking about mass murder, General, not war.
Mr. President, I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed, but I do say no more than 10 to 20 million killed, tops.
And the good news is that as you make those breakthroughs, the population growth in the country goes down. These are all about saving lives. The population growth in the country goes down. The good news is the population growth in the country goes down.
Tell them already, we have to tell them again. Them a murderer. Them a murderer.
The aim is to reach every child under the age of 5. The consequences of failure are serious. Without a critical mass of children being immunized, the virus will not be stopped.
Injecting poisonous drugs of hate into the veins of peoples normally humane.
Sacred to those devils. Nothing sacred to those devils.
So at this milestone, we're essentially redoubling our commitment. Over this last decade, we've spent $4.5 billion on vaccine research and delivery. And today we're announcing a commitment over this next decade, which we think of as a decade of vaccines having incredible impact. We're announcing that we'll spend over $10 billion on vaccines. That will help invent new vaccines. That will help get some new vaccines out. That will help increase the coverage.
These vaccines are to exterminate people, okay, period. And that's it. And we're going to keep it going. I'm going to prove it to you even more. It's not even done, this segment.
Vaccines are forced, toxic, promoted through fear and guilt, and are represented as safe and effective. However, evidence suggests neither.
I've seen this several times in Africa, where droughts have hit, and the United Nations and USAID will not assist unless they accept birth control. I've been all through Africa myself, and I've seen medical clinics that are full of birth control devices, but no safe motherhood delivery kits. There's no anesthesia, there's not even any bandages there. There's crates and crates of birth control pills and condoms. Now, while our commitment to birth control is going up every year, our commitment to authentic economic development is dropping.
We have begun to close the gap in health. There's still work to be done on maternal mortality, on access to reproductive family service.
Hillary, maternal mortality and reproductive family service. Again, so she's right there with Gates. They're both, the foundations are working together. She's talking about maternal mortality. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean, but it sounds twisted to me. And reproductive service of family reproductive service. These people are obsessed with exterminating people in the third world so they can steal the resources, and that's what I started the beginning of the segment within the NSM clip where they said that they aim to reduce the world's populations to give these people access to the natural resources of the country, and frankly, I believe people are the biggest natural resource there is anyway, and people are the wealth of your country, but we like to believe otherwise because you're being inconvenienced or you're crowded, and you're being crowded because they're kicking everybody off, they're stealing everybody's land, and they're jamming them all into cubicles so they can control you better in the cities, and then you're like, oh, the cities are getting more crowded, and that must be because the population is going up. The population is not. If they're telling you it's going up, it's going the other way. I promise you. But they won't be done until they run it all, and until they have you totally locked down. And then the best way to do that is by exterminating people as quickly as they can. The best way they're going to do that is with vaccines.
We have begun to close the gap in health. There's still work to be done on maternal mortality, on access to reproductive family service.
Right, that's health.
He killed him.
The young and the old are killed.
For the good of all of us.
Right, we're killing people for the good of all of us.
I took from published peer-reviewed papers on who's funding some of this research in anti-fertility vaccines. Here they are: Rockefeller Foundation, Population Council. Here's a review article in 1991 in Human Reproduction. World Health Organization Task Force on Vaccines for Fertility Regulation. I circled it was established in 1972. When was the Rockefeller Commission report published? 1972. NSSM, 1974. So it seems like they already had in mind what they were going to do. That's the implication.
Yes, what they had in mind was they developed infertility vaccines or just injections that will make you sterilized and I believe, and I'm quite sure that there will be an epidemic in the next 10 to 15 years with young women who are unable to have children because of all these vaccines that they've been given in their earlier part of their lives, which will damage their reproductive abilities. And you're going to see a giant problem in the next 10 to 15 years. That's a guarantee because that's what they've been developing this whole time. And I don't see why. And they've been getting it to people. They're vaccinating 4.2 million in Nigeria and 85 million in Africa. And then these people are psycho and sick. And these people need to be. These are worse than any Nazi ever was, and not to say that any Nazi was horrible, but these people are mass murdering psychopaths. Period. Okay, they're right there in your face saying it to you over and over and over again. Reproductive health and vaccines are going to reduce world population by 1 billion. And I mean, are you kidding me?
Man, I've got certain information. All right, certain things have come to light.
Better coverage that leaves no child unvaccinated. These campaigns can succeed in making the region polio-free. This is Shanta Blumen reporting for UNICEF Television. Unite for children.
Leave no child left unvaccinated. UNICEF Television.
Each time vaccinators come to the village, we do our best to encourage people to come out of their homes and have their children immunized.
Rounding up families, executing men, enslaving women, and threatening the systematic destruction of an entire religious community, which would be genocide.
Right. So again, Obama's going to talk about blaming Boko Haram for that genocide. No, these are the genocidal maniacs right here, and their names are Gates, Rockefeller, Clinton, and Obama, for that matter. Even though Obama is a Rockefeller, so we'll call him Rockefeller.
People like Bill and Melinda.
Call him Barackfeller.
People like Bill and Melinda Gates, Warren Buffett, Ted Turner, and many others have used their own personal fortunes to make sure that the eugenics movement never runs short of money.
The Norplant contraception device was developed by the Population Council in New York
which had been established in 1952 under the leadership of its president, John Rockefeller. Its next two presidents, Frederick Osborne and Frank Notestein, were both former members of the American Eugenics Society.
An article that Gates quotes the Rockefellers, and this is Rockefeller University News and Press. Gates says that taking our lead and our inspiration from work already done by the Rockefeller Foundation, our foundation actually started Gavi. He also praised the Rockefeller family's century of philanthropy, saying it seems like every new corner we turn, the Rockefellers are already there, and in some cases they have been there for a long, long time.
You know that you are being run by people who are insane, and you don't know.
Now that you've found the so-called homosexual virus, are there any plans for a cure or a prevention?
Martha, unfortunately, no existing drug has proven to be effective. That's why we have developed a vaccine against homosexuality.
And this is just a little bit of a lighter note, just as we segue out of the murderous vaccine segment and into a even more twisted segment about what you've heard about. Well,
that's amazing. What kind of research did you possibly do to come up to this with this conclusion?
We took some blood samples from a group of homosexuals and then injected the virus into a group of straight monkeys.
Huh? No. The other Debbie. Debbie the teacher.
Oh, you mean Black Debbie?
Whoa. Why is she Black Debbie?
No, not in a bad way. It's just to tell them apart because she's black.
Well, why don't you call her Debbie and the other one White Debbie?
White Debbie? That's stupid. I know she's white.
So why do you call the other Debbie Black Debbie? You know she's black.
Hey, first off, I really don't think we should be talking about this in front of Dr. Quinn.
Listen, man, you're missing the point. What if everybody went around calling you White Stormy?
You mean there's a Black Stormy?
No.
Who braided your hair? Did the Ewoks braid your hair?
Yeah.
So they use spears with wooden shafts and stone-carved tips, yet they clearly understand the finer points of cosmetology?
I know. It's not as good as Empire.
Yeah, and moving on, and this is the last segment of the show. We're getting down the back stretch here. I know it's been a long show. There's just a lot in there. I wanted to get it all in there. We're going to talk about Ebola and these again, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is another hoax. Okay, this Ebola thing. It's another way to. It's going to justify again more police state, more restricted travel, restricted everything, and they're going to justify also that non-doctors can diagnose you in the airport because you look like you might have Ebola or something like that, and it's just going to be some sort of a indiscriminate way of just persecuting and fucking with everybody, and all under the guise of a fake disease called Ebola, and which has been propagated throughout all the media and the movies, and we've been built it up as like, you know, when you hear Ebola and people are like, oh, Max, what about Ebola? I'm like, Ebola's a crock of nonsense, okay? None of it makes any sense, again, and there are no diseases that God forgot and all of a sudden popped up now, and you know what, and these people don't know how to make diseases either. They don't know how to make a virus. That's the universe's work and God's work. Okay, that's it. Okay, and then for you to believe that it can be even made is nonsense. Okay, can they poison you by sticking a needle in you with some poison in it with antifreezing it? Sure. But that's not the same. That's not a virus, okay? And Ebola is just a. And this is all hype and very elaborate and very dramatic the way they've produced it on the TV. But again, it's on TV, so it's not true. Let's move on. This is the final segment coming down the backstretch. Max Deconstruction, the Max Rat Deconstruction Zone.
So, what kind of sickness do you have in mind, boss?
Deadly.
That was a clip from Osmosis Jones, which was a twisted movie I found with Bill Murray and Chris Rock, and it's half animated and it's half regular, if you will, and it's all about diseases and this and that, and it's just twisted, and they talk about...
Coming across a new virus like this, is it sometimes that you
have to fly by the seat of your pants, in a way, make it up as you go along?
Yes, you have to. That was an Al Jazeera. He said you have to make it up as you go along. Yeah, well, when you come across some made-up garbage like this, yes, you make it up as you go along. Osmosis Jones talking about Ebola.
This is about the baddest illness any of y'all have ever seen.
Look who thinks he's the Ebola virus.
Ebola? Let me tell you something about Ebola, baby.
Ebola is a case of dandruff compared to me.
In the space of an hour, a single virus has invaded, multiplied, and killed the cell. And in just over 2 hours, its offspring have invaded nearby cells here and here, continually multiplying.
Jesus Christ, 5 hours? It infects the cell, replicates, and kills this fast? These numbers can't be right.
That's why we need to depopulate, because these people replicate too fast, and they're Ebola, and they're virus, and they replicate. This is all ties in together, and it's all fear-mongering you into, and you've been thoroughly propagandized.
This is the scariest son of a bitch I've ever seen.
Oh, Christ, Sam, I opened this guy up. Looked like a bomb went off inside. His pancreas, liver, kidney, spleen, all the organs were liquefied.
Okay, so this virus liquefies your organs.
Oh, wasn't that scary? Oh, I got scared, kids. Oh.
Which is crock of nonsense, liquefies your organs. Antifreeze will do that.
So over and over again, you'll find that reason is lost. So they don't want people to reason through things. They want you to be emotionally involved in something. Always.
I hate this bug.
Come on, Casey. You have to love its simplicity. It's 1/100000th our size and it's beating us.
So what do you want to do? Take it to dinner?
Where is fear peddled more shamelessly than in the fields of where is fear peddled more shamelessly than in the fields of medicine? Nowhere is fear peddled more shamelessly than in the fields of medicine.
Nowhere.
I don't think it's realistic to expect that nothing is ever going to slip through the cracks. The issue to global health security is a shared international responsibility.
Okay, we need global health security. Global health security, the solution to global health security. Nothing's going to, some stuff's going to slip through the cracks, but I don't know what global health security is. Again, that's a global security force for health. Your health security. Again, this is another excuse for another police state measure.
All collectivist systems eventually deteriorate into a police state.
The disease is now officially out of control, and because of fear and people fleeing, the security situation in Western Africa is now dangerous.
Right, it's just about now it's a security threat because, and again, so what do we need? More security. How do we get more security? More police, more drones, more military, paramilitary, all because of a fake virus now. It's like now it's not a fake Boko Haram or a fake Al Qaeda. It's a fake virus. It just never ends. These people are and they're going to tell you you're going to get a disease, so we have to vaccinate you, and that's going to kill you too. These people are fucking sick, okay? And this is out of control, and this is all we get over and over.
They're going to follow his liver functions, kidney, and make sure that he's not having any problems with clotting. If he needs a transfusion or any kind of platelets, they'll be ready to give it to him. Very sophisticated monitoring.
Very sophisticated monitoring. We need some platelets. Whatever. I call her Dr. Psycho. It's a lady on NBC, Dr. Snyder, but she's a psycho, okay? And I don't know, she doesn't seem to know jack shit about medicine or anything. All she knows how to do is talk garbage. She'll say anything they tell her to say, anything, and she's a psycho.
A lead organization fighting Ebola in Liberia says the situation on the ground has become too dangerous. The disease is spreading, civil unrest is growing.
When the disease progresses, people get afraid. And they can get afraid, and that can be manifested by a relief agency's vehicle going up a road and being attacked.
Okay, you see now they're gonna attack security vehicles if this because this disease is out of control. Again, this is another excuse for more police state because of a fake Ebola virus.
As the United States is deploying some of our medical first responders to West Africa to help control the Ebola outbreak, we're also working to strengthen
We're deploying first responders, whatever they are, deploying them.
As the United States is deploying some of our medical first responders to West Africa to help control the Ebola outbreak, we're also working to strengthen public health systems, including joining with the African Union to pursue the creation of an African Centers for Disease Control.
Okay, and we're justifying more African Union authority and superiority and omnipotent control, and we're gonna fund that. Who voted for the African Union? The Africans? No, that's for sure. This is just being jammed down our throats, and they're gonna use it, and it's gonna be go around. We need more African Union. We need more police. We need more. We're gonna need to send in our people. And then Obama's saying we need to send in our first deploy our first responders. Okay, and then we're going to get more police state because of this, and we need to develop their CDC, which is their Center for Disease Control, which is ours. It's a total criminal organization that's full of crap also, and that they have pictures of the pharmaceutical company advertisements in their hallways of their offices, and they're the ones who are selling vaccines and things like that, and use it. So this has nothing to do with any disease control whatsoever. It has to do with just murdering people outright and depopulating Africa and all over the world basically by absolutely genocidal murdering criminals who you can hear them in their own words say that. And Obama's like, oh, we need first responders in there too. Ay.
Ebola came this close to coming, and it missed us this time, but it might not miss us next time if we don't do something now.
We gotta do something now.
Yes, you're living in a police state. Your government is evil.
On the ground have been told to look out for certain symptoms: high fever, headache, sore throat, weakness. People in the early stages look sick, and airlines are on the alert to cull the herd, and if that's the
Okay, people look sick. Okay, that's the first thing she said, and she said that people and the airlines are on the lookout to cull the herd, whatever that's supposed to mean. Cull the herd means to reduce their population again, and she's saying, and they're going to prohibit them from traveling. Yeah, let me play that one more time.
People on the ground have been told to look out for certain symptoms: high fever, headache, sore throat, weakness. People in the early stages look.
Those are all very normal symptoms: a headache or a cold symptoms. So now they're like, no, they look sick. That could be Ebola. And so now we're going to have to
sick, and airlines are on the alert to cull the herd, and if that's the case, not allow people to have international travel. Lester.
Dr. Nancy Seidemann, doctor, thank you.
You can't travel if you look sick, okay? And again, that's going to be from somebody who's not even a doctor or qualified to even make that assessment. Not that anybody can judge anybody by the way you look, but again, that's an indiscriminate criteria for preventing you from traveling, all under the color of law and the color of fake disease. Okay, and that's brought to you by Dr. Psycho from NBC herself.
Well, I introduced you to see how we could protect ourselves. Tell us, how can we do that?
Well, avoiding infected people is probably the best, and also limiting travel to the Middle East.
Okay, and there's another virus they called called the MERS virus, and that was and coincidentally the MERS is also the electronic mortgage registration system that was used to rob everybody's and rip off, and with the mortgage-backed securities fraud. That's funny. So now they're calling that a MERS. It's a MERS virus, which is given to you in the Middle East, and you get it only in the Middle East. And you know where you get it from? Camels. Oh my God, this is so ridiculous and stupid. And so she said, well, the best way to not get it is by don't travel and don't stay away from other people.
And stay away from other people.
No, what do I do?
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. That's the most important thing.
Well, I introduced you to see how we could protect ourselves. Tell us, how can we do that?
Well, avoiding infected people is probably the best, and also limiting travel to the Middle East. And stay away from other people.
No, what do I do?
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. That's the most important thing.
You got 19 dead, you got hundreds more infected, and it's spreading like a brush fire. You got to isolate the sick, and I mean really isolate them, Billy. We got to get everybody else back into their houses. We got to keep them there. We're doing that, Sam.
Okay, lock everybody up in their house and keep them there, and isolate everybody, and don't let anybody talk to each other, and don't let anybody. You know, this is all because of a fake virus, and we're gonna lock you down and stay. You got to stay in your house, just like on with the Boston bomber. Also, you know, stay in your houses. The Boston bombers will lose, and the killer viruses lose, and Boko Haram's lose, and you have to stay in your house, and you can't travel, and you can't go anywhere. And if you look like you're sick, we'll throw you in. We'll cull your herd.
It is, in a word, frightening.
The military curfew is now in effect. Return to your homes immediately. Anyone found on the streets after 1900 hours or 7 p.m. will be arrested and confined. Return to your homes. You will be safe there.
That's from Outbreak, the movie about an outbreak of a virus, and they're like, and the military is like, return to your homes. Don't. You have a curfew now. You can't leave your house. Again, this is all nonsense around fake diseases. Again, to bring in more police state. These people just want to lock your stupid slave ass up, and mine. Okay, my stupid slave ass up. And this is fuck this shit, man. This is sick. Okay, this is all fucking lies, all of it. I'm sorry to use colorful language, but this is just enough already, okay? This is ridiculous.
What we've done is to make sure that we're surging not just U.S. resources, but we've reached out to...
We're surging resources. The surge was like irrelevant to like the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan as well, where now we're surging on Ebola.
What we've done is to make sure that we're surging not just U.S. resources, but we've reached out to European partners and partners from other countries, working with the WHO. Let's get all the health workers that we need on the ground. Let's help to both.
And when they say health workers, they mean what police also to lock you up if or not let you travel, or just like they were saying, you know, the military is like, or the curfew, or to enforce the curfew. Those are the health workers now.
The systems that they already have in place. Let's nip as early as possible any additional outbreaks of the disease. And then, during the course of that process, I think it's entirely appropriate for us to see if there are additional drugs or medical treatments that can improve the survivability of what is a very deadly and obviously brutal disease.
Okay, now we're going to plug Big Pharma also and some new drug or some new vaccine that they have. Again, just to get you to take another vaccine so you can make sure that you don't have any kids anymore, or sterilize you, or destroy your kid's brain or your daughter's lovely skin, and just to put you into a mess. And so the world government, so you don't threaten the world government's criminals superiority over you, and you can't challenge their rule. That's what this is for.
The animal that's carrying the metabovirus is a monkey.
So there's evidence that before the virus gets into camels, it's found in bats. The strange thing is that it's found in bats in South Africa, all the way to the Netherlands, and these bats range all the way over Asia. Yet, for some reason, it only seems to transmit to people in the Middle East.
And the bats and camels, and it only gets to the Middle East, only Arab, only Middle East. And so we need to, you know what? So we need to just lock those people up and steal their oil, and that'll be that.
The virus contains both bat and pig sequences. And in the bottom right, you can see the dark green is pig and the light green is bat. And here you can see the crossover event: bat, and pig, bat.
Bat, pig, and bat, pig.
All the cases have originated in the Middle East, and it's not clear how the virus is being spread there. It's possible that camels or bats may be transmitting it.
This is how it's thought the virus was passed on to humans. Scientists have linked cases to camels, an integral part of life in the Middle East, used as transport and food.
They use camels for food in the Middle East. That's new to me. And with some camel burgers, here we go.
What do we do? Like Mohammed, we must wait until the mountain comes to us again.
So with that, I'm going to take a couple of questions. I'm going to start with Julie Pace of Associated Press. Where's Julie? There she is.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding this summit about the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, and there's an untested and unapproved drug in the U.S. that appears to be helping some of the Americans who are infected. Is your administration considering at all sending supplies of this drug if it becomes available to some of these countries in West Africa? And could you discuss a bit the ethics of either providing an untested drug to a foreign country or providing it only to Americans and not to other countries that are harder hit if it could possibly save lives?
Well, I think we've got to let the science guide us. I don't think all the information's in on whether this drug is helpful.
Okay, and so now they're getting into a fraudulent or a nonsensical discussion about a new drug that prevents or cures a disease that doesn't exist, called the Ebola drug, and they're going to say that it worked. It was untested, but we tried it on some Americans and it was working like any Americans had Ebola anyway, and there is no Ebola. And so what they're going to do is they're going to say, oh, we're going to give it, they're going to get people to rally and say, we have to give these people, they're dying from Ebola, we have to give them this drug, and then they're going to be like, oh, and then you're going to give it to everybody in West Africa, and then they're all a bunch of people going to die, a million people going to die from it. They're going like, oh, we shouldn't have done that, it was untested, and we didn't realize that was going to happen. This is just twisted nonsense. This is what they're going with this. These people are sick, all of them, okay? None of this is true, and none of this is nonsense. And, and you can, like, Max, what proof do you have? Just listen to the way these people, they're rolling it out to you. This is all garbage, okay? And I've done more than enough investigation of all these diseases, and with cancer, my cancer show, you can check my cancer show, my vaccine shows, my Obamacare shows, or Rockefeller Care shows if you want. There's so much in there of it's the same thing going on and on again. You could see this one, all they want to do is it's more police state, more big pharma, pumping of murderous drugs and vaccines. This is what this is all about, and it continues on.
Look, the solution to this is going to be a cocktail of solutions.
Right. Okay, and there was a Nigerian guy, he said it's a cocktail of solutions, like a cocktail of drugs. Again, it's always, they're always wording it in with the subliminal messages, and it's a cocktail of solutions.
In our fight against HIV/AIDS, we'll work with 10 African countries to help them double the number of their children on life-saving antiretroviral drugs.
Okay, we're going to double the amount of kids on life-saving retroviral drugs, and again, there is. If you look into who brought you AIDS, it was discovered in the Rockefeller Foundation University Hospital. The AIDS virus was discovered there. Okay, so these people are this is again another hoax, and they're going to let's get them on some more of our drugs to kill them some more. These people are sick, and they're on the warpath and the rampage. Okay, and that's what's going on here.
They're lying to us again, Larry. Come on, you're a Princeton graduate. You should know how they do it.
Okay, and as we come down the backstretch of this show, I'm just gonna reel off a bunch of clips in the end, and we're kind of just finishing up on this Ebola
Another
segment.
social engineering project to change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people of the world, and especially the United States, to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government.
Obvious hoax. An obvious hoax.
Sooner or later, the people in this country are going to realize the government does not give a fuck about them. Government doesn't care about you or your children or your rights or your welfare or your safety. It simply doesn't give a fuck about you. It's interested in its own power. That's the only thing, keeping it and expanding it wherever possible.
Perhaps the answer is that they simply could not. Perhaps the answer is that they simply could not believe it was really happening. Maybe the normal human mind is just not wired to accept that your fellow man is capable of such senseless brutality on such a scale, even when you see it happening with your own eyes.
And I fell victim to that ideology as well. Is that I was when I first heard about 9/11, I was like, no, I don't like Bush, but there's no way he would do that to us. And then I learned later I was very wrong, very, very, very wrong about that.
The reality is that the American people as individuals have lost their courage. The government prefers it that way, as a fearful people are easier to rule than a courageous one. But Americans don't wish to lose their self-image of courage. So when confronted with a situation demanding courage in the form of a government gone wrong, the American people simply pretend the situation does not exist.
Why, you're nothing but a great big coward.
You're right. I am a coward. I haven't any courage at all.
A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
Be compassionate, but be compassionate globally.
And, okay, so we're coming down the last bunch of clips here. Let me see if I can make a quick, very quick summarization. Basically, the world government criminals are making their move in Africa. They're going to try to shift the attention from Iraq and Afghanistan to, they're going to try to rape all the lands and the people of Africa, and they're going to use it metaphorically in a way as they have fake terrorists raping you, as well as diseases, fake diseases who are going to come and get you, and the solution to all that will be more police state and more vaccines. Okay, and that's their genius plan of how they're going to perpetrate this crime, this mass murder crime. And it's as plain can be. It's in their own words. You've seen it all. I'm Max Rack. Thanks for coming aboard once again, the Max Rack Deconstruction Zone. On the way out, I'm going to play a bunch of clips. I think I'm going to sign off right here. That's a show. Thanks for coming aboard again. Second part 2 of the Max Rack Deconstruction Zone, the Nigerian Kidnapping and the Global Police State segment version. And thanks again for coming aboard. I'm gonna go and take a look at these the next show, or very possibly I might go after the Arab-Israeli thing, or I might have to mention this nonsense in Missouri. Stay tuned in St. Louis, or stay tuned for that. Thanks again for coming aboard. I'm always grateful. You bear with me, and when it takes me a little long, sometimes so much I want to get done, and it just takes me longer than I like to do to get these shows finished. But thanks once again for coming aboard, and I'm gonna roll out this last few clips on the Max Rack Deconstruction Zone. All the best to all of you. I'm over and out.
What a shame. What a crying shame. How in the world could this country of all nations breed such a dumbed down, unthinking, illiterate, uneducated, stupid, ignorant population?
This society is a bunch of idiots.
Here we are on a planet of sheep.
Sheeple is what they are. They are following the Judas goat right into the shearing pins, and from there they will go to the slaughter, and they will not know that anything is wrong until they smell the blood of the sheeple in front of them.
What a bunch of dumbasses.
Now, no prejudice intended, but, I always check with the Bible on these here things. Oh. Yeah, I think that, if God had meant us to be together, he'd have put us together. Well, look what he's done. He put you over in Africa, he put the rest of us in all the white countries.
Let her face at first just go sleep. Turn the water
resistors to mind reprogramming will be exterminated for the good of the state.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.
Batmobile over and out.
Right.